Just want to say a few words for those that have not been here before. There are papers on the little table over there. There are agendas for everybody. Please grab a copy if you'd like. There's also a public copy of the entire packet that the board has that has all the attachments of the things that we need to talk about. So if there's something in them that you want to look at, please grab it, take a look at it, but then please put it back so other members of the public can look at it if they want to. Bathrooms are in the back over there. Help yourself to food anytime you'd like. There will be a slot on the agenda for general public comments for all items that are not on the agenda that are within the purview of the board. So please, if you have something you want to speak about, make sure that you speak about it in the right time slot. So if it is not on the, if it's on the agenda, don't bring it up during the public comment. Wait, we will have a public comment on every agenda item. But if it's not on the agenda, make sure that you keep an eye when the public comment period is and take the time to give your comment then. Okay? All right, with that, if I may ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. David, would you please lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Would you please call the roll?
Sure. Brandy, absent. Hassan.
Here.
David Balin.
Here.
Jason. Miran.
Here.
Becky, absent. David Lasher.
Here.
Lori.
Here.
Assad.
Here.
Gabriel here. Isam.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
Okay. A point of clarification on the packet that we have and the public copy over there. We had started printing all the attachments before we realized that we needed to cancel the meeting last week. So obviously we're not going to throw those away and print them again. It's a waste of paper. So we printed only the new material for this week, which is the agenda and 2 agenda items. And so there are sort of 2 packets in front of us here. The one that has today's date on it is the supplemental material, and all the other material that we carried over from the previous meeting is still in the original packet. It would have the old date on it, which is January 8th. You can ignore that. Okay? Hopefully I didn't confuse it more than it was. All right, thank you. Okay. It's tough to get representation on a special meeting. Everybody's schedule gets filled specifically, so. No, he sent an email saying that he has the flu and he will not be able to make it. So, any representatives of elected officials or city departments? Please, if you don't mind, if you can step up to the mic and
Hi there, I'm Steve Dupre with the City of LA Urban Forestry Department, a relatively new resident of the PRNC estates. So I'm here to assist with any questions on the Cesnon project.
okay. All right. Is Freddie here? Freddie, I've never met. Oh, no. Sorry, Freddie from Dunn, our new representative whom I have not yet met. So. Okay, good, because I don't know him. All right. Hopefully he'll make it soon.
You'll make it a comment on street lighting?
On street lighting, is there something from the city on it?
Yes.
Sure.
Hi, this is Assad Al-Najjar with the Bureau of Street Lighting. Yesterday, when we were in the Northridge Neighborhood Council meeting, there was a question on how to report light outages or wire theft. So just to remind you all, there is 2 ways. One way, which is the My LA 311 app, which is not only for the street lights, but for anything related that you need with the city services. Or there is the phone number directly to the Bureau of Street Lighting to report street lights out, which is 213-847-1400. We have 5 operators ready to respond immediately, in addition to the MyLA 311. Thank you.
Okay, any other? Okay, good. We will move to item 6. Any budget advocate in the room? He's
No, it's good.
at wherever he usually goes to on Thursday, Wednesday.
We kept you busy last night at the other meeting.
Okay,
The other meeting.
so, all right, so item 7 is the public comment on matters not on the agenda and within the purview of the board. So anyone would like to comment on or let us know about anything or whatever they want to comment on, just something not on the board, on the agenda.
I didn't fill out a card tonight.
I don't need a card, but actually, hold on. If I have a card for somebody, I'll go through that with them first.
I'll be glad.
General comment. Kelly, would you like to?
Yes.
Is this the right time for it? Is it in public
It's not on
com-
the agenda, but it's very quick.
It's not on the agenda.
It is on the, well, it's about the utility boxes, but it's just that they can acknowledge Jason for all the help that he's
Then
done.
let's wait for the item. Mrs. Blank. Okay. Then, please, Sherry.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Sherry Darahanian, formerly of the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council. I currently volunteer at the San Fernando Museum of San Fernando Valley. It's located at the corner of Wilbur and Nordhoff in an office building on the southeast corner. And they have an artist speaker series, which is quite compelling. It's once a month on the second Saturday from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and it's usually a 45-minute lecture of a local San Fernando Valley artist. And then they take questions from the audience, and they display their artwork. There's usually a raffle, so if you attend, you get a raffle ticket, and the artist who is speaking usually raffles off one of their artworks. I went 3 years in a row, and my house is full of artwork from local artists because I bought a lot of raffle tickets. You can buy extra too. So I invite everyone in the community. They just started this up. It was gone for a year, but now Michael Stevens, the president of the museum, is starting it up again, and I'm volunteering on the second Saturday of every month. It's called the Artist Speaker Series.
If I may ask you, this is great information to put in our e-blast. Can you send me something on it?
I sure will.
Thank you.
It's a lovely event, and you can stay 1 hour or you can stay 2 hours. There's cheese and wine and crackers and stuff afterwards. It's always a lot of fun.
Thank you.
What are the hours, second Saturday?
It's the second Saturday of the month from 2 to 4. I don't have the exact address, but
When is it starting now?
it starts, February 7th is the first one. They discontinued it for a year, but now it's starting up again, just starting this next February 7th.
I'll bring the little girl.
Julie.
Thank you. Just, I was wondering, this particular incident happened, I'd say maybe about 4 nights ago. I live in Porter Ranch near Reseda Boulevard, north of Rinaldi, and a neighbor happened to text us, letting us know that there was a woman out on the corner of of Reseda Boulevard and Brasilia. And she was ranting and raving and yelling, and she was pushing a shopping cart. She was obviously homeless, and she must have come all the way up Reseda Boulevard. I don't even know how she survived that. But she was asking for water, and so forth. But she was, you could tell that she had serious mental problems. And so I had gone to a neighborhood watch meeting several years ago, and the officer there gave us 2 numbers, one the 911 number, and then another number, not for an emergency, but if you need to get a hold of them. For example, if there is a car sitting out front of your house or nearby for many, many days, and you know that it doesn't belong there, you can call the number. So I called. And I said I was very concerned that she might walk out onto Reseda Boulevard and it would cause, a traffic accident as well as she would be hurt. And they said, well, is she out on Reseda Boulevard? I said, no, she's on the corner. They said, well, we can't do anything. It's not criminal to be homeless, it's not criminal to have mental problems. But if she goes out onto Reseda Boulevard, call us back. And I started thinking to myself, why isn't there a number that we can call? There should be an agency that'll come up and pick up a person that obviously needed help, very, very cold night, and there was nothing. And she just turned and started walking up Reseda Boulevard further north. I said to the police officer, she's going to end up in the hills or in the park, the Caterpillar Park, because she was just walking up and pushing a cart. But is there nothing we can do? There's nothing.
Not that I know.
The whole
Anybody
team
has-
the whole team, don't we, only supposed to refer them to work?
I don't know.
I mean, even when I called the police, they should have referred me to another number, and then I would have called them.
I'll tell you what, why don't we, David, go ahead.
There are phone numbers, there's services numbers that I will give them to you, so maybe we can post them for the community, basically for outreach. But it's hard because they get notified, they do try to come out as quickly as possible, but most of the time, the person's already gone. The police have, unfortunately, they have a hands-off policy, and that's due to the council voting on that. And that goes hand in hand with our street vendors. So unfortunately, until that changes, it's kind of a hands-off. But I do know that people were, I've heard people were following her, trying to help her, or...
You've heard about it also?
I read about it.
Yeah.
I saw her.
Why don't we,
So
why
it
don't,
wasn't just me then?
thank you, David. Why don't we get those numbers?
Yeah, if there was just some number that we could call, some organization, because it was crazy for them to say, well, if you could, let us know if she's out on the middle of Reseda Boulevard.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other public comment? I'm gonna circle back. Go ahead, please.
Good evening. There was a call for some public works projects in Porter Ranch, sidewalks and streets. And I wanted to add Cessna between Porter Ranch Drive and Tampa if it's not too late. I was going to bring it up at the meeting, the last meeting, but it was canceled.
Okay.
Okay, are you talking about the tree planting?
No, it was a call for any street repairs, sidewalks, etc.
sidewalk.
So the sidewalks are coming up, and then the tree well caps, the concrete caps are being lifted up and they're breaking. So just we can put that onto the list, and I'm not sure if there's
Yeah, I
a
don't think they'll
problem.
remove those, but the potholes, are they potholes that you're referring to?
No, these are just sidewalk repairs. They need to sand down the sidewalk and.
Not really.
If you note what the email said, and that's taken directly verbatim from their email to us. Street repair or minor sidewalk matters, they will consider. What they consider minor and what you or I consider minor, we don't know. So needless to say, please, anytime.
I will enter it, but just tell me what the location is exactly.
It's Cessna Boulevard between Porter Ranch Drive and Tampa. And I don't know if east of Tampa needs to be done
Well, I know
also.
there's a ton.
On the
So-
north or south side?
I'm kind of on both and more on the south side, but these are not major projects to work on. The sidewalk got lifted up, the tree wall things are kind of buckled, and it's a liability issue
Yeah.
for people walking there, so.
I understand. Okay, and usually they ask for an address. If we give them a broad
Yeah, they won't take it.
broad range like this. So please communicate with Jason afterwards. Try to pin it down if you can for a couple of addresses, because that's how the city functions.
Okay, yeah.
Would that be all right?
Well, the thing is, it's
The whole block, right?
well, it's the backyards of these people, so I guess I would have to go into the
No, no.
community and try to figure out which house is in front of that one up at the sidewalk. I don't think I'll ever get them to
Yeah,
match
no,
that.
you can, it can be done online. You pin it, it'll tell you what block that is, and that's all you need.
There you go.
Or if not, count next to which street light? The fourth street light from the stop sign, the fifth street light? Because the street light would have a GIS location.
Just a way to point them to
So
it.
just like say, next to the fourth street light.
Okay, well, anyway,
Okay. Thank you.
January,
All
thank you.
right. Any other public comment? No other public comment? Okay, I'm going to circle back. Freddie? Would you please introduce yourself to the board and to those who don't know you, like me, and let the people know also who you are and what you'll do. Last time I didn't ask for that, and I got in trouble, so please do.
Hello to the public and to the board. My name is Freddie Coupe-Names. I'm the new NEA for this neighborhood council.
You want to expand on that acronym?
Yeah, NEA is a neighborhood empowerment advocate. So since I work for the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, we help our neighborhood councils, basically empowering them to realize whatever vision the board wants to accomplish, and then also providing advice as to how we can accomplish that with other departments or organizations. Yes, I did. Freddie. Yeah, rhymes with Teddy. To give you a little bit of background on myself, I used to be Housing Navigator 2 for LA Family Housing, working with individuals experiencing homelessness in the Spot 2 area. As a housing navigator, we were to basically close on the deal, meaning get to lease signing, getting from streets to the apartment, and convincing a landlord or a property manager to take any of our clients and to make sure that they accept our clients in good faith, and that our organization would back them up with any financial incentive that we might offer, whether it be a holding fee, an RFTA through their Section 8, or the promise that they are actually doing better as that they got employment and that they will be paying their rent and portion as it over a certain period of time. So that's regarding the issues of homelessness, which is a big issue. So I got hired from LA Family Housing to at least assist on that. In my hands right here, I have some handouts for the board, which will be part of my presentation. I'm going to pass it on to the end. And so you just take one, pass it down, and then the rest will be for the public. Oh, no. I'm still doing the whole report. I kind of have a system where Jason actually has my copy. Another copy. No. That copy is for note-taking purposes, for the president, for the treasurer, for anyone in the board that wants to see it. I only print 2 copies because I don't want to waste too much paper, as I already did. But I do a report. I'll be emailing to the whole board the exact report that I'm doing, because I like to have everything they talk about will be on this report. I will not veer from this report, so that if you have any comments on that, that would be just questions and answers on that end from the public or from the board. I just want to make sure that you can at least have for your records for minutes, you'll know exactly what we'll be talking about. So I'm going to be giving you my report as of now. So I'm going to be asking that the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council, if you are seeking to make any changes to your bylaws, please do so as soon as possible before your April 15th deadline, so that you can send it to me so that we can approve it, whether it be grammatical errors or whether it be certain tenses. If you already think your bylaws are already good to go, it doesn't hurt to review it before April 15th, which is tax day. Another point that I would like to say, the department invites women of the neighborhood council system to a Galentine's Day event on February 10th, 2020, from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at LA City Hall at the Tom Bradley Tower. The event will offer the opportunity to come together to celebrate the power of female friendship and community leadership. We hope you can join us and engage in meaningful conversation about the value and strength women bring to their neighborhood council. RSVP info will be sent to neighborhood councils at their monthly profile for February. For ADA compliance, if requested by the public, and the neighborhood council is to accommodate any individuals or readers who might have low vision, to put in a standard Arial black bold 18-point font for large print. That would allow, and I kind of gave an example of what Arial 18-point font would look like on my report. so that if any members of the public do say within a timely manner, at least so that the NC can print it out, they can at least provide anything that would be good for readers of low vision.
Freddie,
Yes,
let me ask you a little bit.
of course.
We have standard language on the front page of our agenda
I saw.
that the city, done has to approve before they post it. So,
Yes.
and that's the approved language.
Yes.
Will this language go in there as well to instruct people that they can ask for that, just like they can ask for translation services?
It would just be if you want to add maybe like, I think, let me look at what you have here.
I guess the problem is, I can't write it in the regular font,
Oh, no,
telling people
it's
if
just
they
that
need a larger font.
if someone were to email you
Okay.
within, a reasonable time saying that they need.
But don't we
that-
need to tell people that they have that option?
Yes, and that could be done within that paragraph of the ADA. This was just sent to me
All right.
literally yesterday.
I guess what I suggest then is maybe Dunn would require that of all NCs to include it in the legal language that goes with every agenda.
Yeah, that would be something I'd bring back. Also, Plan Check is having a meeting on Saturday, February 8th. They will be talking about the Housing Element Task Force. This task force will be determining the zoning regulations for the city of LA for the next 9 years. So if you want to know more about the Housing Element Task Force, please go to the Plan Check. On the Empower LA website, we do have our alliances, and the Plan Check website is on that page.
10 to 1.
Perfect, thank you.
I go to Plan Check. Jason, I did it on date. It's February 8th.
Don't worry.
From memory, figured it out.
Hey, don't worry, thank you.
The,
Plan Check.
thing.
Also, as you know, we have a new general manager, Raquel Beltran. She was recently appointed by the mayor and affirmed by the city council as of September 16, 2019. She has so far reached 63% of neighborhood councils and is going strong. She's taken about an average about 3 to 4 neighborhood councils a week. She's trying to do it before the end of March. If the public would like to know more about our general manager, you can go to council file 19-0945. I'm not going to be reading my whole report because it's way too long. I'm just going to be highlighting certain things that's more important. Congress, please save the date for Saturday, September 26th, 2020. Yes, so Congress happens on an annual basis. For those that you might not know about Congress, it is an event that happens in City Hall that unifies all 99 neighborhood councils for learning, workshops, and networking. Also, I'm going to skip some things right here. Don't forget, at the 2020 homeless count is happening for at least the Spot 2, Spot 3 region. It's happening on January 21st. I just put on my report 4 different locations that's within Porter Ranch. The Granada Hills count location of 16603 San Fernando Mission Boulevard. The Chatsworth count location, which is 9207 Oakdale Avenue. The Northridge count location, which is 8756 Canby Avenue. And Winnetka count location, which is 8520 Winnetka Avenue. If you want to register or volunteer, you can go to theycountwillyou.org, a very simple website. Also, don't forget that the census for 2020 is happening. That is very important for federal funds. To give you an idea, the last census, it was $115 billion allocated to the state of California, just for the census tract. Homeless liaisons. Does this neighborhood council have a homeless liaison?
Yes.
Who is the homeless liaison? Perfect. So David, thank you. Because the homeless liaison meeting will be scheduled for January 29th, further information about the RSVP with location and time will be released with an agenda for the meeting. I'm currently one of the 5 staff members for the Homelessness Liaison Task Force, which will be now moving forward managing all homeless liaisons from neighbor councils moving forward. For the public, if you do find a homeless encampment, and you have 2 options at the very least. One is MyLA 311. It is an application that you can use, and there is an actual homeless encampment button if you download the app. I suggest the app because it's more efficient and it goes directly to the data source. And then also the website for the county, which is la-hop.org, H-O-P.
LA Hop, that's
Oops, sorry. LA Hop is, think of it like a beacon for all service providers within LA County that notifies outreach workers to go to a specific area so that they can do a touch point or a contact point. Once outreach goes to that individual or family or RV or vehicle, then they engage with them with services. Until then, once they have accepted services to go on the path towards housing, intake takes over and matches them to a subsidy, whether it be rapid rehousing, DHS or DMH housing, and then they go to navigation and then stabilization. Just to give you an overview of the process for how to house an individual or family. Now, last but not least, the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners have 2 upcoming meetings. Now, as you see from the handouts I have presented, I've given you the draft version of their calendar of meeting dates and locations, and also copies of the latest drafts of the current 4 policies that will be in effect after February, well, at least will be considered for the City Council to be put into effect. These policies that will be applied blanket for all neighborhood councils is mandated leadership training, the conflict resolution for board members and candidates, a uniform process for censure, a uniform process for removal of neighborhood council board members. These policies were brought up since there have been comments from the public and from board members about other neighbor councils needing certain uniform policies that can address these specific issues. So if you please look at those draft policies, you are able to email commission@empowerla.org to provide your input if you cannot make it to any of these last 2 dates, which would be Tuesday, January 21st at 1 p.m. at LA City Hall, room 1060, or Tuesday, February 4th at 6 p.m. somewhere in the East LA area, location to be determined. And for the president, on my report, my last page will be giving either expired, soon to expire, or missing training. I do this for all of my neighborhood councils, so at the very least you know who might be eligible to vote or not vote. And I always bring an extra code of conduct if there is something missing, so they're actually able to vote on non-funding items. I like to make sure everyone can vote. And last but not least, I brought some pins from the 2019 Congress I'd like to give to you, so you guys can remember to register for the Congress.
And then have some extra. I'm going to take some questions. Oh, you got questions?
Just one second. Freddie, anything else? Or can we ask you a few questions?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Board, Jason, go ahead.
I know you're new to our council, but we had been working with Jasmine, and at points in time we had been discussing bylaws revisions. I think we did some simple revisions as far as maps, but have you looked at our bylaws, and or would you take the time to look at our bylaws? We do have a bylaws committee chaired by our president. I don't know if he's going to take action on bylaw revisions, but I think it would be nice for you to look at our bylaws, since that's what you guys do. And possibly?
Thank you for that question. In fact, with my director, I do one-on-ones. I'm reviewing all 8 of my neighbor councils that I manage and their respective bylaws. I just finished with the West Side Neighborhood Council's bylaws because it came before bonk to do an actual structural change. So that required a little bit more hands-on because anything to do with bonk, you have to make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. But I actually, after West Side, which I just finished yesterday, today I'm going to start looking at Porter Ranch because you are my newest board, and it's a handoff, so I can at least have that conversation with Jasmine. I'm doing it in a specific order of who I don't know too well to who I do know very well.
Right.
Because those the hardest ones first, and then I can go easier.
Appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah, and general question. So in the public comment, is any member of the board allowed to make a comment or not? Jasmine left us to lead that it's a yes. We would like to understand it's a yes and no, and maybe.
So when it comes to a member of the public coming to speak to the board, generally you'd want to just say yes, thank you, and we'll take your comment under consideration if it's talking about a specific item. But if you want to clarify a certain matter, you're able to.
That's not the question.
He's asking
He's asking, can a member of the board
Do a public comment?
during public comments step down to the floor and speak as a stakeholder?
It would be better to have the board member, if you're speaking about a specific agenda item that's on the agenda, then I would recommend having an item that would be board member announcements on non-agenda items towards the end.
It is enough, it's not a board function related matter.
Oh.
So let me clarify, be specifically. When board members run for office,
Yes.
as Assad is running for the city councilman's position, previously, when I ran, I was able to get up and I spoke and never had an issue. Unfortunately, when we had an issue where he got up to speak and he shut him down right away. So, I don't know what's very fine line. That's where they're getting at. Is he able to speak during public comment?
Then the ones after I was told it's okay to speak.
Yeah.
But now we're like at the point, is it?
So was it Jasmine that confirmed that in writing?
No.
Okay. How about this?
That's why I want you to confirm.
I can't confirm that right now, but I do want to research that.
That was made
a little bit.
also was that the city attorney should be the one giving
Yeah.
an opinion on
I can't make a determination on that, but that's something I can definitely ask Elise. Elise is our city attorney, so, because again, when board matters happen, and this is just for general public knowledge, I can't make any determination on whether a board should stop their meeting or whether they can or cannot speak. I can just only make recommendations and they can choose to either accept it or ignore it. Think of me as Clippy. They can click on it, yes.
We understood that there is a done policy on that. We would like for a clarification from done on it, thumbs up or thumbs down, so there's no confusion. And if you don't mind sending an email to the entire board@prnc.org, and just provide us with that clarity. All right, thank you. Anything else from the board? Good questions from...
Yeah, I had a quick question. On Vaughn, who is the Valley representative? Years ago it was Lydia Grant. And then, I don't know, what's the person's first and last name?
Do you want to say it?
I don't know the first name, but it's Nguyen.
It's Quinn.
Yeah.
What's the first name?
I can't pronounce her first name.
Did I say,
Ewan?
It's Quinn.
Quinn?
Her first name is Quinn. I think it's Queen.
Oh, okay.
Nguyen, right?
Yeah, it's kind of pronounced Quinn.
Oh, okay. And then secondly, on this gallon time thing, is that only for sitting board members, or would it be open for if you're on a committee on the neighborhood council? Or?
That is a great question. I just found out about that Galentine's today. So I can ask the leader who's organizing it, is Vanessa, for that, because she does lead both Ignite LA and Women Empowerment for our department. So I can ask if committee members.
I mean, I'm just curious.
Yeah, what time is it?
Just because every single neighborhood council has a white male as president? No, I'm just kidding. Who said that?
Okay, any other public question?
Perfect.
All right, thank you very
I'll
much.
be following up with that.
Appreciate it.
Both of those. Thanks.
Okay, let me, I'm sorry, what? Well, I've asked, anybody has a public comment to make?
I missed it, I didn't know what you were
I
saying.
was looking at you, trying to understand, you want to say something?
It didn't register.
Okay.
There's snow on the road, so the hearing is bad and the eyesight's
If you don't mind,
bad.
I'm going to set 2 minutes because I got to move.
Absolutely. Well, I just came to introduce myself. I'm Mark Reed. I'm the United States candidate, congressional candidate for the West San Fernando Valley. So if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to ask me over here. We have a meet and greet at Los Toros in Chatsworth on Monday at 6 o'clock. If you'd like to come, you'll be able to find out way more about me than 2 minutes worth of conversation. But I just wanted to come in and say hello, introduce myself to the stakeholders here. If you have questions, I'll be right here in the back and you can ask. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We done? We're good?
Let me quickly say something.
Go ahead, please.
Can I stay on?
Yes, you're good.
Yes.
I'm Judith Daniels from the Chatsworth Neighborhood Council.
I can give you this.
I can use that. Always at my service. Thank you. I'm Judith Daniels from the Chatsworth Neighborhood Council. We do not go by the city clerk election process. We have selections. I won't go into the difference, but we run our own voting, and I just wanted to make sure, since I know that there are a number of people who come up here who are Porter Ranch residents or stakeholders, also are stakeholders in Chatsworth. Our next voting is March 21st, Saturday, from 11 to 5 at the Chatsworth Train Depot. If you have any questions, you can go to the website, chatsworthcouncil.org. If you have specific questions, you can send an email to vote@chatsworthcouncil.org. And if there's anybody who is a stakeholder who wants to be a candidate filing has opened already, and the applications are available online, chatsworthcouncil.org. You can, Glenn Bailey, who most people know, I think, is our election selection administrator. You can reach in through vote@chatsworthcouncil.org for specific questions, or you can catch me tonight. I'll be here through the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I shop at Trader Joe's, do I qualify?
No receipts.
Thank you. Okay. I will venture. Any other public comment? We're good. Okay, thank you. All right. Item 8. Do we have anyone from Toll?
Thanks, Frank.
Oh, Frank. Can we, so, David, would you like to introduce this motion and what we're doing here?
Sure, I don't need the speaker. All right, so this is a discussion with Toll Brothers and the Department of Public Works and possible action regarding the planned removal of some protected trees, 24, located at 20900 Cessna Boulevard. So first off, I want to just start by saying Toll Brothers has been a friend to the community for a long time. They've worked with the community, they help raise funds for the community. But then this issue came up. David, I think you can agree. This issue ended up coming up by stakeholders, and it brought it out into the open. And so we've been having to deal with this for some time now. And Frank is you know, he was going to come to the meeting last time, and I'm grateful for him coming today. He's going to answer questions from the community to try and get some resolution as to where we stand with the trees. It's a arduous task, you know, keeping trees, losing trees, developing a successful development, but we're in a really awkward position, and I'm grateful for Frank being here, so.
Maybe.
Speak the truth.
So,
We're trying.
if you don't mind, then I'd like to give it a little bit of structure.
Sure.
So that I would like to ask if you can just take 5 minutes to describe what it is being done and where it is. We hear the block number, but many people don't know where that is.
I get it.
And then I'm going to ask David to identify the issues that people have brought up. And then we will open the floor for questions. I'm sorry? We want to have an engagement but mostly our job is to open the floor for stakeholders to ask questions and express their opinion. This is more about your opinion than about our opinion, so we'll do that, but we don't want to suck up the time. We want you to have the time, and we have allocated 30 minutes for this, so I'd like to stay on schedule for that. So with that, Frank, would you please introduce the general picture here?
Yeah, so Frank Sue with Toll Brothers. I've been a resident of Port Ranch for 5 years. I'm no longer a resident today, but I have been here for 5 years. Just so everyone knows, we acquired Chappelle Homes back in 2014, so as that transition, if you haven't seen, has been from Chappelle to us. Today we're here to talk about tree removal. So this is part of track 50506. I know that may not mean anything to you guys. The address on Cessna, I think it's just like you said, a placeholder. So track 50506, it was approved back in 1990 when the whole specific plan for Porter Ranch was approved. And back then it was approval for equestrian lots as well as public trails that run through the track, public equestrian trails. So in addition to the actual equestrian lots, there's requirements that are set upon that in the specific plan, which are they have to be 20,000 square foot lots, they have to have, I think, 6,000 square foot house pads, they have to have a 2,000 square foot equestrian pad, and together there's also trails that connect all those so people can buy a home and also have a horse keeping area. So that's the intent of this track, which is called 50506, which is actually the last section of the Bella Vista community. So if you folks know Bella Vista here, there's really been kind of 3 parts of Bella Vista. This will be the last part that you see. So when it was approved in 1990, the ER that was also approved at that time acknowledges that there's going to be mature oak trees that are going to be removed as part of the Porter Ranch development. It named 245 to 330 trees to be removed in this northwest area of Porter Ranch. So it's been acknowledged, it's been identified in the original EIR. In 1994, the track 50506 map was approved for 76 lots. Subsequently later, in 2016, it was modified and reduced down to 65 lots. So today, in 2016, the track is approved to build 65 equestrian lots. Along in 2017, there was also an approved EIR addendum that refers back to the original EIR, which calls out for 114 trees to be removed as part of 50506, that track. The addendum states that these removals will not cause additional environmental impacts beyond those that are already determined in the full EIR. Just to give you some context, track 50506 has 239 total protected oak trees on it. The initial design that we had back in 2016 removes 114 of those oak trees. We understand that is an issue. We understand that we're not out here just to tear as many trees as possible down. So we redesigned the entire track. We went from 114 trees removed, which is 47%, down to 25. I think you said 24, David, it's actually 25. So it's 10%. So we went from 47% to 10% of the trees we removed. And this is done through regrading. We added some new walls. And one of the things that is you should probably understand is as the site is lifted up, and it has to be graded down. And part of that regrading changes some elevations. It's not a flat pad out there. It's got ups and downs. And so as the elevation changes and the grading changes, sometimes the trees are a new elevation. And a lot of the trees that aren't permanent that need to be removed are because of that new elevation that's created. And the slopes that have to be created to have a stable house pad, which I think you see all throughout Porter Ranch because we're a hillside community. So through these regrading, new walls, we've spent over $1 million to save 89 trees. And that $1 million is in retaining walls, and changes in the grading, and other things that we've had to do to save these 89 trees. I have a document, if you guys want to see a little map. It shows, I'll share it with you guys. It shows the original 114, and it shows the current 85 plan, kind of side by side. Yeah.
I just have one question. If you look
Can
down.
you wait? Let's wait, please.
And I will be, sorry, I mean, so, okay.
That's fine, and we'll circle it around.
Yeah, I mean, we'll look at it. I just want to keep one if you guys have questions. So that's pretty much where we are today. We feel like we've done a lot to try to reduce this count. We understand the significance of oak trees. The EIR and the original conditions call for a 2-to-1 replacement. Urban Forestry asked us for 4-to-1, we've agreed.
And the councilman now
Councilman
asked you.
with Councilmember Lee, he's asked us for a 5-to-1 replacement, which we've agreed to as well. Where part of it will be done in the track, and part of it will be done in the fire areas of Portage. So after the fires, Councilmember Lee's asked us to do that, which we've agreed to. And just some general things, the existing tree report, if you guys have a chance to look through it. So the 25 trees that we're removing, of the 25, 4 of them are Class B trees, just like with A, B, C, D. 20 are Class C trees, and 1 is a Class F tree. Most of these trees have been through 2 fires, they're fire damaged, and some are in steep caverns and slopes, and some are pretty unstable. So the plan, obviously, is to remove these 25 oak trees and then replace them. And the replacement is a new planted tree. We do 5-to-1, so every tree we take out, we're going to plant 5 more. And they get established, watered, and maintained by the HOA. So we get trees that will be there and managed as well, not just left. That's all I have. I'm really here to answer your guys' questions. I know Jason and David have been to the other meetings.
Yeah.
Whatever questions, I'm here to answer.
So just to.
David?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So just to bring the community up to date where all this started, and Frank and I know each other personally, so this is difficult for us. When I first reached out to Frank, because we were looking for the Appendix D, which shows the trees that are there, the trees that are going to be removed. Unfortunately, they had a loss of the person that oversaw all this, and the documents were missing. So I guess it was their arborist or the gentleman that worked for you during that time. He had passed away.
Yeah, our planning consultant's on STEM now.
So he had passed away. So we had reached out to the councilman's office. And during that time, the councilman's office gave us nothing as well. So we've been trying to basically figure out where these trees are or how these trees are. I mean, if it hinders the development or it hinders putting in the proper retaining wall or something, we just needed to know, because the community was, we work on behalf of the community. We listen to what the community asks us to do. And so we were just following suit, trying to make sense of where this was going. So that was one of the issues that were coming up. So we're slowly, and Frank's here tonight to answer these questions, and that's where we're at. So we're trying to get to the bottom of this, because we will be at the city again on Friday, and it's done. It's out of Frank's hair, it's out of my hair, and we've got a resolution to the trees. Some of the trees are staying, all the trees are being removed, wherever this is going. So.
Anything else?
Nothing. I'm good at this moment.
Okay.
Before you go to the public, are you going to move off the board? You're going to go to the regular board first? And then go to the public? What's your...
That was going to the public. Is there a reason?
Yeah,
I think Jason
because
would
I was also...
Would you like to say something?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I'll just kind of piggyback off of, David and I went to the hearings. David went to the first one. David and I went to the second one. There were a lot of issues regarding the mitigation of the impacts. So the additional grading. So we appreciate everything that you've done. We wish that we could have worked on this early on. It would have saved us all a lot of time. We hope in the future, if projects come up, that we can just go right. Make sure we make an effort on both sides to come to the land use committee and hash it out because we're involved.
I understand.
We're going to be there. We're going to be filing impact statements. And we're going to be weighing in on these things. So I think we have that level now, and I just hope that moving forward we can do things better.
Agreed.
On any future projects. So my first question is, are there any future plans for future removals?
You mean specifically tree removals?
For your company, is your company planning on any additional tree removals or potential removals that you're aware of that will come up to the Board of Public Works?
No, this is it.
Okay.
This is our last, in terms of where we are in the master plan building, this is the last track.
Okay, so that helps us. So now we know where we're at. So in terms of the grading, I've learned a tremendous amount about native plants through this process. I'm not, an expert, but I've been dealing with stakeholders who are experts, horticulture experts. So I have a series of questions, and you know that came up at the hearing.
Yes.
And I appreciate the fact that you said that you would work with us on the chaparral, because the grading has a big impact. And we do suffer from invasive weeds here in Porter Ranch. So it's key to reestablish that understory. Okay, so you're replanting the oak trees, but there's the plants that go with the oak woodlands. So your toyon, there's a series of plants in an oak woodland environment. So I'd like to get further into that discussion and at the hearing and things, but I do have some additional points. With respect to this plan that you have here, the tree replacement plan.
Correct.
So the thing is this is a preliminary plant palette. So this is not a final, so we don't know what the final is. So one of the things that we would like to ask of you, and that we will be agreeing to, and hopefully we can come to an agreement, because I'd like to get to the point where this board can actually support this project.
Okay.
That's the goal, in addition to what I've said before. The concern is that this needs to be a native palette, 80% native palette at least. There's a lot of exotic plants in here that potentially become invasive into our neighboring environments. And so this is a critical habitat area because of the way it abuts nearby, like where Hidden Creek is. You have Mormon Creek coming through, you have Browns Canyon. This is an extremely sensitive ecological area. So it's critical that we don't introduce exotic species into this area. One of the things with the mitigation, in talking to the horticultural stakeholders, what they were saying is that some of these trees are too close together in this site, and that the goal is not necessarily to have too many trees in this site, but if the spacing that should be like 40 feet apart, approximately. And so if we could have, perhaps, one of the things is like the 24-inch box tree is not necessarily the best way to go. To go with the 15-gallon is actually better because that tree can take root quicker. So that's one thing, but I think the idea is trying to not put these so close together, but to space them out more. The 80% native, at least 80% native species, so you have, rather than having all oak trees.
You meant 5-gallon.
No, 15-gallon. 15-gallon. They're putting 24-inch box tree here, but what we're saying is that actually, what I've been told by the experts is that a 15-gallon will do better, and it'll be cheaper for you guys.
Can I respond, or let me know when you're done?
I'm almost done. Okay, so that's good.
I'm happy to respond to all these things, and I actually think we're doing a lot of what you're already asking, so I think we'll cut this off.
So basically, that's almost the end, just like, we want to have regionally appropriate species of plants, like toyon, manzanitas, giant wild rye grasses, coyote brush, there's a series, but you have the experts that you will work with on that, but we would like to have like a horticulturally appropriate, not a preliminary plant plan, but hopefully a final plant palette for the hearing. That would be our...
Oh, in 2 days?
Well, some kind of commitment to say that you'll agree to, 80%.
Yes, understood.
You know, I wish this wasn't last minute.
No, yeah.
And that's basically it. The only other thing I wanted to mention is like, with all that grading, there will be needing to be some kind of weed abatement plan.
Right.
Because, yeah, so if you can.
Okay.
But that's not.
Let me try to tackle, because I think we're doing a lot of what you're already asking, and I'm happy to take your guys into the landscape plan if you'd like to have. So that preliminary plan was done some time ago. This is, just so everyone knows, we're 2 years into this process. This isn't something we just did 6 months ago. We've been on this process for a while. And so we have a full landscape plan. And just so you know, so the way it's going to work, Jason, the way the trees may look close there is because right now we're trying to plant 100 trees in this tract. And actually planting more outside of this tract will alleviate that problem. Right? The reason why they're close together is we got to plant 100 trees.
We want to talk about that too.
Understood.
Let's go through the first.
Just so you understand, that's why it's there like that. In terms of what's being planted underneath them, so there's a fuel mod area. I don't know if you understand what fuel modification is. So I think those who lives in Port Ranch probably understands that there's a certain distance, right, where you have to modify fuel mod the timber or whatever, or the brush that lights on fire. So as part of this plan, there's a fuel mod A and a fuel mod B. The fuel mod A is where we do our typical slope planting. So if you see any of the tracks all around here, we got to do a typical slope planting. And those are usually low water usage plants. I'm happy to go with Pat with you. If there's some things you don't like, we can talk about that. My landscape architect is the expert, and they recommend what you guys see here on the slopes everywhere. The fuel mod B, which is where most of the oak trees will be planted, the oak trees get planted, and then we put down a native mix. And I actually have it right here if you want to see it. It has a native seed mix. And our landscape architect comes up with this latest chaparral seed mix that you see there. I didn't just create that. That's been on our plans for a year probably. And so that gets put down where all the oak trees are, so that it gets established. It gets watered for a certain amount of time, the oak trees as well as the chaparral mix, until it establishes, and then the water gets cut off because it can live on its own.
Got it.
So you understand it's not going to be oak trees and dirt. It's going to be oak trees and then that chaparral mix that will grow into the native. And it's been done throughout the areas. We haven't done it recently around here, but this will be one of the first times that we do it.
It looks nice.
It should grow in native, and like I said, and then once it's established, we pull the irrigation out because it's just temporary, so it can establish once. What were your other questions?
You want to talk about a little about weed abatement, how you can.
Yeah, so so you're concerned about grading, like we grade. There's dirt, it rains, or there's weeds that grow. We have to do fuel mod and weed abatement every single year by the fire department. We're required to send us a notice like everyone else gets at their house. We have to go out there and weed abate everything, in which we do.
And like, how do you do it? Do you spray a particular chemical? Do you take?
No, it's just done with weed whackers and by hand. I think sometimes they will use a machine to do it, but mostly it's weed whackers. And then, so when we grade, just so you understand, we grade it. And I don't know if you've ever seen that green mix that we put on there, that's to bind the soil, so we don't have erosion issues. And then when that's just a temporary fix, and then when we build our homes and we build this landscaping, we do that all, it all gets built in. It's hydroseed is what we call it, yes.
So will you be planting some of are you open to planting some of the manzanitas and the toyones as part of, I didn't get a chance to read what you passed around, but the toyon and the manzanita are important native trees.
Sure.
And we have a urban forestry, but it's part of the native mix here in this oak woodland area, in all our canyons and parks.
And do you mean within our projects or on the perimeters or out kind of
wherever it works, Okay. I think the idea is the 100 trees or 125 trees, for us, it would be nice even if we give up some of that, but to get some toyon and some manzanita trees, because to have that diversity and that mix and that understory is extremely important, because it resembles what's already there, the native chaparral.
I mean, what I would suggest is we'll plan landscape plans. You seem to know a lot about this stuff. I can bring my landscape architect. You guys can go through and we can see. I mean, my landscape architect is going to have his opinions. Obviously, it's all aesthetic as well. We'll just have to go through.
If you could forward us what you have when it comes, and then we can kind of look at it and see, because that's, from what I'm being told, it's like there's a lot of oak trees, and it would be better to have more diversity.
Just, I mean, just say we're required to replace, you know.
I know how to.
It's not, we can't decide what we want to
Frank,
do.
I want to get back to the oak trees.
David, hold on, because some people haven't spoken.
I just want to open the floor a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
You don't
let's-
mind?
My motion, I'm going to finish, I want to get back to the oak trees where we should be focusing. Because I know there's a couple questions that need to be answered, and I want to just get it out. So when we're developing these lots, they're 20,000 square foot lots, how much of the 20,000 square foot lots are really usable? Are we talking that the 20,000 is still part of the hillside? Or, 'cause I don't really see, see people bringing horses into the ranch anymore.
That's a combination of both. Sometimes the lot extends and there's no pad, right? You still own that lot down there, but it's needed. And so the requirement is a 20,000 square foot legal lot.
Got it.
Okay, but the house pad has to be 6,000 square feet, and the equestrian pad has to be 2,000 square feet, and they have to be, I think, 35 feet apart from the house to the pad or to your neighbor's house. So there's all sorts of requirements in terms of equestrian, the K zone that the city of LA has.
Thank you.
So to answer your questions, a little bit of both.
Thank you.
Ask a quick comment or question?
Both, comment and a question. So I was present in your two presentations at the Board of Public Works. I appreciate all what Toll Brother do and all the designs you bring and all that. But the thing is, I want to extend to you that we're all, volunteers, and we are here to help the community and help you. But I have no idea why you keep shutting us down. You made statements to the commissioner, to Kevin James, and all of them that the board is not available to you, but we are always available to anybody who wants anything to do with Port Orange. And I extend again to you, you have a lot of talent here. I mean, sitting here not as a board member, as a candidate for CD12, where I'm sitting, I look at it this way. You and Southern California Gas backing up the incumbent, big time. You have a meet and greet for him, and probably that was in return for this project. But we give you the benefit of the doubt. We are here for you. Council office will go back and forth. Maybe he wins, maybe I win, maybe Dr. Lorraine wins. But at the end of the day, this community is your people who are going to buy your homes. These people are the ones who are going to be, at the end of the day, your customers. So don't shut us down. Anytime you need us, we'll have a special meeting for you. Maybe I'm speaking out of my, for the special meeting, but we're always available to help you.
You have a question?
Yeah. Question, you want me to ask? Okay.
No, I'm not.
Well, I made the comment.
Comment and question.
I mean, I don't want to get out of the context.
Then let's stay with the context.
Yeah, I
Okay.
made my statement and
I'm happy to respond, or
if you like, please, I would like to.
I don't think I've shut out the council. Look, we've had, David and I, we've been trying to schedule meetings. I don't want to go rehash all the past, trying to meet and the notice I was given and all those kind of things. So David calls, he has my cell phone. He calls me anytime he wants. So I don't purposely shut out the council.
But Frank, you said this has been in the works for 2 years.
Yes, it
Why
is.
are we talking about it for the first time now?
I will tell you, it's not a requirement for me to present something like this.
No doubt about it. You're not legally required to be
Right.
here.
Right.
But to have a genuine relationship with the neighborhood council,
I understand.
this would have come up a long time before.
Agreed.
Don't you feel that the Board of Public Works feels that it is important? I mean, isn't that what, at the last hearing, the Board of Public Works, not only did they want, advocate for the site visit, which I'd like to know why we were denied that, but they also asked, and they postponed this hearing just so you could come here tonight. So it's obviously important, and Kevin James made it very clear at the end of the hearing that it's important because it makes it, what? A cleaner file, so.
I will say, when we have a major track map, or we have the major approval, and staff will tell us, go meet with the neighborhood council. We'll do that. We do that. We've met before on the park. We've met on other issues. I understand. I know what you're going to say. I just say, when never notified by staff, you should meet with the neighborhood council. I mean, that's our relationship issue here.
If you felt that it was important to have this conversation, you don't need anybody to tell you to have this conversation.
Understood.
Lori, please.
I just want some clarification.
Sure.
So based on this map, are you telling me that there were no oak trees in any of this area here?
This is only spot in yellow or red are where the oak trees existed.
Correct.
And let me add to that, so just so she can understand the way that I'm sure a lot of the people that are sitting here are wondering where this is. So if you go due west to the very end of our community, it could be Cessnon, it could be Rinaldi, you run into the canyon. All these oak trees run along the canyon. They run along the canyon. And the oak trees, and this is where our concern was, is that the oak trees, they're at the bottom of the canyon, they hold the ground on the side of the canyon. And so, until, Frank brought it to fruition the other day where, that he needed to grade, and he needed to grade at different levels, and he needed to do double retaining walls. And, these are things, the conversations like Jason had led to, that we should have done previously. Then we would never have had to go down this road again. So.
Can I just make one comment? Let me go around the floor. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm listening to you and I still feel that you are not answering the question. This is incomplete. There is another map behind this. That's number one. And number two, I feel sometimes that the community needs a project to grow our community, not a political agenda. Where is the fund of this project coming from? I can't get that information. I called the office twice, and they shut me down.
Call what office? Which office?
The Toronto Mother office. I told them, I said, I want more information on Tuesday afternoon, and they don't want to answer me. No.
Well, let's stay on the oak trees, which is the purpose of this discussion. And I need to open the floor, but I'd like you to answer the question, if you don't mind, about the access to the site. Is there a problem with this neighborhood council having access to the site?
Honestly, it's a safety issue. That's honestly why that we...
Let me ask you, has anybody from CD12 been to the site?
No.
Has anybody from Public Works been to the site?
Urban Forestry staff has been there to inspect.
So there is nothing that can be accommodated in a construction site to take elected members of the board to see what we're talking about?
Look, the site has been inspected by our arborist and twice by our
inspection.
I understand what you're saying, but it's...
So let me ask you this question again. Is it not possible to have proper instructions for members of the board to go to the construction site and have the necessary safety measures in place?
Look, I have brought this up to people above me in our legal counsel, and the answer is that they don't feel it's safe enough to do that.
Isam, just to clarify, I'm the highest rated inspector for all the projects in the city of LA. So my rating is even beyond your project. I go underground, overground. So anytime, if you like.
He's saying so it's not a safety question, it's a legal question.
The legal question is a safety problem. These are in sloped areas.
It can't be selective legal safety question. It's either for everybody or not for everybody.
Urban Forestry staff, it's a requirement of the tree permit to do that. We sign off on that, they come to visit. Our arborist goes out there and inspects.
So someone who is required to go, you'll accommodate, but someone who's asking to go, you won't.
It's a safety issue.
Okay.
Simple as that.
I think those that are required to go also take the same safety precautions. I'm sorry, Frank, this doesn't compute. Let's just say that there's a resistance to allow this board to get to the site, and let's leave it at that. Okay, can I open it? Good question, and then the public, and I'm going to extend the time.
My question is, have any of the trees been removed or are all existing on site right now?
No, they're all existing on site.
Every single one that's marked here?
Correct.
To be removed, potentially prior or the new plan?
Correct. Like I said, they're all inspected by Urban Forestry. Twice. They've been twice, the site twice.
Thank you.
Good, all right. I'm going to ask you, would you like to say something first? Any additional? I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Is not obligated to invite the public to the site. We go there to verify the report that it's accurate, but he's not obligated to invite the board or the public to come to the site.
No, nobody's asking for an invitation. We're asking for access. That's a different issue. But he has the right we cannot make him have us on site, so I'm just asking, what is the reason for it? That's all.
It's a safety.
Okay, anything else you want to mention about the project before I ask general public?
Well, as far as what I've seen, I think Toll Brothers has done due diligence. What I've seen tonight, it sounds like he could have brought this up earlier for everyone to review.
Okay.
But, they've done everything that we required of them. Even their bond is going to be over $200,000 in maintaining all these trees with a 3-year period. I understand Jason's concern about technically a smaller tree establishes quicker, but also the larger tree, the 24-inch box will replace the lost canopy. And that's one of urban forestry's goals, is to replace its canopy size.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pass this mic down because I'd like to have 2 mics so he can answer any question. So who would like to, okay. Anyone who wants to ask Frank or say something?
I can ask you right here.
No, because I want to talk on
Oh.
the mic. Would you please?
Can I just stand here?
David, would you give her the mic, please?
Actually, I have 2 things. Number one, I've lived here 45 years, and I remember when this side of Tampa was just beautiful with goats and everything. So to me, you guys have ruined our landscape. But save the oak trees. I really think, I know you're mad at me, Jason, but I think we need to save all the oak trees, not just 1 or 2. Okay?
What type of traffic mitigation has there been? Because I really, unfortunately, have not followed it. I just know that it's getting almost impossible to drive down Rinaldi.
Okay, so this is not about the oak trees.
Right.
No, it's not. I guess you're the wrong person.
I mean, like, I'm here to talk about the oak trees tonight. You're asking about traffic studies. I mean, that was all done in the EIR that was approved. I mean, I don't know.
But you don't
I don't know how to
have
answer.
I'm
that
sorry.
question.
Judy has a
Who else
question.
wishes? Go ahead.
Okay, just one. If you look down Cessna, straight ahead, down, 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 you see a bunch of trees on the right and a house. Is that going to affect?
Do you mean across the canyon?
Yeah.
That's not our property. That's Hidden Creek's
Oh,
property,
okay.
which is going to be, that's not being built.
Just a second.
First, I wanted to ask about the property. Does it already have a K overlay?
You mean, so it has a equestrian overlay. It was approved back in 1990 when it wasn't technically called the K. It's very closely resembles the K zone. That's fine. It's not technically K, but it's all the things that are in the K zone today.
If it didn't have a K, you'd have to have 75 feet, not 35 feet.
I may be wrong on that.
If the HOA is going to pick up the responsibility for watering the trees at some point, is the HOA going to exist at the point at which Toll Brothers no longer has to be watering? Because if there's any gap.
No, I understand what you're asking. So when the project's built, we are the HOA, right? Any beginning project, we maintain until we sell 75% of the homes. And then when we're finally over, we turn it over to the HOA. So there's a turnover process. They come out with the plans, they make sure everything's per plan. We turn it over to the HOA, the management company, and then they take over. So there should be no gap.
Okay. The other thing is, I am totally confused by what you said and some of the questions. Are you putting in 5 oaks for every 1 oak you're taking out, or it's a total of 120 whatever?
So the original requirement was 4 to 1, which is 100. The Councilman Willies asked us to go 5 to 1, which we've agreed to. And 5 to 1 with the proportional split we have determined that there's on the site and then in the fire areas of Port Ranch.
How many are
That's
oaks?
125.
Oh, so 125 oak trees.
5 for every 1 removed.
So I live in Chatsworth in an area with oak trees and on equestrian property. thrilled to hear that you know about the 20,000 and the pad for the horse area. That's very important. I'm a little bit confused. I'm totally confused at you have 65 houses and you're trying to figure out on 65 lots how to get 125 trees. This is not rocket science with 65 lots. And I can tell you from projects that I'm part of the land use committee in Chatsworth, and we protect oaks for, unless it's an oak tree that is dead, we protect oaks. And we have persuaded many developers to keep oaks on their property because they can charge a premium for that, because people actually like oak trees. And I know that, and we're not talking about low-cost houses in Chatsworth. This has been done. It's in the range of $1 million to $1.5 million.
So you're confused on placing the new trees there or the existing trees?
How it is that you can't find a room within within 65 lots to be able to place 125, or more importantly, how to not have to remove 25 trees.
So in terms of the placement,
unless they're so damaged or so ill.
In terms of the placement, we have to place them off homeowner lots, right? Because the homeowners can just.
It's not on the lots.
They're on the open space areas and the commons areas that we're planting the new trees. If we put one in the front yard of everyone's house, we can't control whether it gets.
So the board should know that that's just total bull. That's homeowners are not likely to take out a mature oak tree.
Understood, but we've
never had that problem in Chatsworth. The developers in Chatsworth are very happy to have oak trees on the property and sell them for a premium, sell the lots for a premium.
I would just say we lose control when it goes on homeowner lot. That was my own comment.
Can you explain again, just briefly, why these trees are being removed? This is not, because I want to address the point that you're creating a slope that's going into the open space that has the trees, and you have to remove them for the slope. Is that correct?
Correct. So when we have a raised site, you have to recompact the soil, you have to stabilize that pad on the top. Where we can put a wall, I can tell we can put 20, 30-foot walls to try to save trees, and we've done that. But there's some areas where the grading happens and we have to support that, called buttressing, whatever the pad, that we can't. The finished grade or the new grade is higher or lower than the existing tree grade. Does that make sense? So if the tree was right here on this, and the new finished grade is up here, the tree's not going to survive.
Any public, go ahead, please.
I was going to ask,
we're passing the mic. Let David know.
Yeah, thank you.
Want to speak later, so please.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you for coming this evening. While I totally agree with the board that this should have been brought to their attention a lot sooner, I just want to say that if we never removed an oak here in Porter Ranch, we would not be a 30-year resident of Porter Ranch. Our Kirk house in Porter Ranch Estates at Tappan says now probably never have been built at that scale. I do, after listening to Frank's presentation this evening, feel that the mitigation that's being described here seems very reasonable. Is it ideal if you love oak trees? Probably not. But I think that it appears to me that they've done the best they could, because it's just not about saving oak trees, even though I think that's important. They have to balance making money on the project and also doing what the community wants. And after listening to the presentation this evening, I think it's very reasonable.
Okay, thank you. David? Go ahead.
Oh, just a very simple question.
Well, we need John.
Hello? You hear me? A very simple question. When those trees, there's wood in the trees. Do you sell the wood for money?
I think they're mulched, and then the mulch is used in the property for the landscaping part of it.
So you don't sell it, you just use it again?
I'm pretty sure that's what happens, but it gets mulched, yeah, so it gets used.
They have a huge machine, grind it up.
They grind it, yeah.
It's some sort, we don't say.
I don't think so, but I'm not sure, to be honest.
Did you? Go ahead, you're right here. Go ahead.
Okay, Andrew Crown, former board member. I'm going to stray a little bit. Frank, thank you for being here. The thing about your presentation that bothers me the most, and it's not unique to Toll Brothers, it's the falling back on what I'll call an ancient EIR, a plan approved when the world was a different place, Porter Ranch was a different place, and quite frankly, the environmental variables have changed. This happened with the vineyard and the traffic on Rinaldi. So I don't want to get into traffic, but the overarching point is, I expect more from our building partners, and I'm going to speak on the next agenda item, another building development issue. I'd like to see our corporate partners, Toll Brothers is one, do better with new EIRs, taking into account the realities of today when looking at a project, not taking the easy way and using an EIR that maybe was done when the plan was approved 20, 30, 40 years ago. So I make that request as a stakeholder, that you take that back and maybe as a change of business model going forward. Thank you.
I want to thank you for the effort you've taken to minimize the amount of trees you have to take out and the expense that you have spent on the grading and the walls to be able to do that. So I thank you for that. And I think that's particularly important in as much as oak trees are beneficial, as I think I heard the term is fire catchers, that when the fire blazes through here, the oaks will still stand. So, and I'm excited that so many of them are going to be replaced also with oaks. So thank you for that. You sort of breezed through a description of a class B, C, and F, and I don't know what that is. Could you clarify?
Yeah, so the arborist grades the tree. It's an A, B, C, D grade, like new grades you get in school. So the 25 that we're removing, 20 are C grade. So C, yeah, it's the health and viability of the tree. So
why do you need a C restaurant?
yeah. So if you're asking what exactly is a C, I mean, my arborist describes it as it's average and okay. And F obviously is about to die. And you know, A and B. So we are removing one B tree. I'm sorry, 4 B trees, 20 C trees, and 1 F tree.
Frank, are the oak trees black oak or white oak trees? You know?
They're California oaks. I don't know. They look black.
Some are black, some are white oak.
Coast live oaks and valley oaks.
Yeah, I want to just comment on a couple things. First of all, thank you for coming here. Second, as on it's not a safety issue, it's a liability issue. They don't want to get sued. That's basically why they don't let anybody go onto their projects. It's just they don't want to get sued. Litigation, you lose as soon as litigation starts. Second of all, I think you've gone way out of your way to save the trees and spending $1 million to save, I think it was roughly 100, cut it down to 25, being 89 trees down to 25. I have properties up in Madera and Mariposa County, and the oak trees up there just get torn out. I love trees too, but I'll tell you something, oak trees are actually pretty dirty trees, and they're very flammable trees. They will burn green. I mean, we have burn piles up there. If we cut our oak trees, we trim them down, you put them on a coal, they will catch on fire immediately. So, they're gorgeous trees, don't get me wrong, but we have them at our properties. It's like our fire insurance is probably 40% higher because of oak trees. The next thing is I think you have a great reputation for working with the community, and the fact that the track map was approved over 30 years ago explains exactly why California's got a major housing shortage. And why a lot of the home builders are getting out of California because it's near impossible to build houses here. We have to balance between our need for houses and control of a builder and strangleholding them because they have to pencil it all out and make sure that this track is going to be profitable in some possible way. So somehow they penciled it out and spent an additional $1 million to save trees, redo all the grading, come back and forth for the last 30 years to build this one track of how many houses? 65 houses. So you got to think about what we're doing as a state and as a community to builders. It's great to have control over our community, but we have a major housing shortage in the state of California, and we're driving these guys out of the state of California because it's no longer profitable to build houses. That's it. So they have a great reputation. Thank you for doing all that you've done for this one track of houses.
You know, I want to clarify something because this is the one issue that bothers me, the process. The board, the neighborhood council is covered under the City of Los Angeles liability insurance. There is no excuse to preclude a neighborhood council from visiting a site in the community to address an issue that the neighborhood council is concerned about, that has brought to it by its stakeholders. We can make excuses, but if somebody wants to make it work, it is easily doable.
So it sounds like it's more of the staff that they're talking.
I don't know.
No, the city council staff is saying.
Any other public comment? Go ahead.
Maybe it's for urban forestry. I've read I've worked in local government 20 years. I can read code, and everything I read from the city, the county, state ordinance say you just can't remove these trees unless they're dead or dying. It didn't say you can replace them with 5 others. Am I missing like exemptions in the code somewhere, or is it just IPR?
When city planning approves development, they basically approve the removal. They're the authorizing agency, and we just more are part of the permitting process.
So in terms of city policy on
planning is approved this whole development.
Okay.
That part of the law right out the window. Okay.
All right. With that, we're going to close the item. Thank you very much for being here.
This is a possible action, I think.
I understand. So thank you for being here. I want to ask the board, is there any action that the board wishes to vote on right now?
Frank, would you be willing to add some Toyon and manzanitas to this project? I know you, and we have the off-site situation, so I'd like to, hopefully we can work together on some locations. I've been thinking on the streets, perhaps. I don't know what, John Lee's office had in mind, but there's a lot of burn areas on the streets for the off-site planting. So that's like further discussion, but I'd like to see you add some native Toyon, which is like shrub/tree, but it's an important part of the ecosystem as well as the manzanita tree.
Where would you, I'm just trying to understand where would you want those?
So the chaparral is, you have the oak trees, and the native chaparral is the underbrush. So the Toyon is part of that.
I see. So where we have a chaparral, you would like to see more Toyon?
Like where it intersects the canyons, where you have your, like this part here.
Like on the west side, or even the east side.
Yes. So what I'd like to ask, if you would be open to adding a number of, let's say 25 Toyon and 25 manzanitas, for example, here, because you need diversity. Okay. I understand this is the mitigation that the city is requiring upon you, but what we're trying to do is something nice for the project in general and for the community and for the ecosystem, because this is ecologically sensitive.
So I would like to ask the landscape architect.
That's what I'm
as
saying.
well. So I guess I would say I'm happy to have a discussion with you and our landscape architect to see if we can make it work.
Well, if you would.
Can I have a motion? I'm going to suggest to you a motion to address the issue you're bringing, because I got to move on.
Yeah. So what I'm going to say is I could feel like I could support this if you could make a commitment to add some of those trees and agree to an 80% native plant palette. And you can suggest a motion or make a motion, but that's what I'm trying to get to, is some inclusion of Toyon and manzanitas.
So which motion would you like to have? There could be a motion that says we require that. Just a second. Okay. Or you can have a motion to authorize the land use committee to work with the developer on.
We don't have time.
All right.
So, and I'd like to hear from David. He's listened to what I had to say, but he's the co-chair.
So can somebody give me a motion?
Well, wait.
Well, let me speak. I'm going to, okay, so, you know what? When it comes to a development, Frank they already have their specific plan on what trees are gonna be put out. So Frank can't really speak and say that they are going to put these plants there because he's gonna have to go back to his arborist and see if that even works. Because that might not even work with their plan. But I guess the question is, if it would work with your plan, would you consider putting those in as Jason's recommended?
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't know enough to say yes is my problem. So, and I know we're going to meet in 2 days. If the landscape plan is not being approved in 2 days, the landscape plan gets approved through
But we
the
want to
city.
get to a point on Friday where we can say, and you can come back and say, hey, I talked to my guy yesterday, okay, and talked to him tomorrow, and he said, yeah, we could do X amount of manzanitas, X amount of toyon, and we could do 80% native minimum. And then we can say, okay, we support it, so we can prepare it. What do you think about that?
Well, my motion is going to be, now that everything's out and we have a better understanding, the community has a better understanding, is to support this project. You know, I'm not going to hold Frank accountable because, you know, it's not really up to him to say that they can put these plants in there. I mean, I think if we ask Frank, I know Frank, that if the guy says, sure, we can do that, then Frank's going to go ahead and do it because it makes everybody happy. But if the guy goes, hey, that's not part of our project, then what, Frank?
No, I mean, Jason, honestly, I'm happy to work with you, and if it works with my landscape architect and the plan, we'll do it. But if you're asking me to commit right now, am I going to offer X number of, I just don't know if it works. I don't have enough information to tell you if it works.
I guess the expectation is that for the hearing on Friday, if you could bring some, like, tangibles, saying, okay, we can add what I've said, talk about it.
I can talk to my landscape architect. I would say it's 2 days.
I know we're on a short timeline, but we created this.
All right, I need a motion.
The motion is to approve the project.
You want to put a motion to approve the project?
That's correct.
Okay. Do I have a second? Motion's dead. Any other motion?
Then would you guys approve? Would you approve?
Okay.
No, I mean, if you modify it to a portion where we work as a board with Toll Brothers for what serves the community. I want to keep the lines of channels open. We are, available. You have talent, you have engineers, you have...
But we're talking about...
So his motion died, so maybe the silence.
But I get this, but the thing is that we're talking about oak trees right now. We're not talking about having an open communication with the developer. We're talking about the 25 trees that...
And the mitigation effort.
And the mitigation too.
So,
Mitigation too.
Okay, so I had a motion.
Mitigation is part of that.
Can I have another motion?
If you put the mitigation, so that we ensure safety and all that, add it to what you said, I'm fine with it. I'll second it.
Jason, do you want to add the mitigation part to this? Do you want to redo it?
I'll make the motion to approve the project contingent upon the incorporation of at least an additional 25% of toyon or manzanita trees.
If approved by their arborist.
It's going to be up to Public Works at the hearing.
Okay.
And we'll hash it out there. As well as a minimum of 80% native species.
Okay, can you read the motion again, Francis?
Yeah, give me a second.
As a technical thing?
Okay, Jason, approve the project conditioned upon the incorporation of at least an additional 25% of toyon and/or manzanita trees if approved by Toll Brothers Arborists and Public Works Department, as well as a minimum...
No, I'm sorry, you don't need that part. That was, take that out. That was just responding to...
I'm sorry.
Take out the Public Works part. I'm sorry.
Oh,
That's not part of
if
the motion.
approved by Toll Brothers Harbor, should I leave that in? By,
No, that doesn't need to be in there. No. You want me to make the motion again?
Go ahead.
Okay, motion to approve the project, let me just do the math. Okay, motion to approve the project contingent on an additional 40 Toyon or Manzanitas and a minimum of 80% native species in the common area, streetscape, and slope. We'll see what the order is.
Okay.
If
Judith,
approved
you
by
wanted to
the
say something?
We know it has to go to the board on Friday.
All right, let me take hold of the process.
Second.
Let me take hold of the process, please. You stated a motion. You want to say something?
a technical thing, the project has already been approved.
Correct.
What you want is to say that your motion should be that you approve the plan to remove the trees.
Correct, she's right. She's right.
Because that,
It's not the project, it's
Okay, you want to
motion,
amend it?
motion,
Just say.
a motion to approve the removal of
Said
the
trees.
25 protected oak trees at 20900 Cessna Boulevard.
Okay,
Contingent upon
the same
the
stuff.
addition of at least 40 Toyon or Manzanitas, whatever combination. Try and get 40 in there. I'm just throwing a number out there, work it out. As well as a minimum of 80% in native species within the common areas, streetscapes, and slopes.
I'll second the motion.
You'll second the motion. Discussion. Anybody wants to say something on it? I'd like to say that I'd ask for an amendment that the site be open for board members to visit it as part of this approval process. I don't want to go, but I think it's important that the process be respected and the community has the access to it. So if you
That's a
accept
friendly
that
amendment.
amendment,
I accept the friendly amendment.
okay. Can I have a second? On the amended motion? All right, any other discussion? Public comment on the motion? I know we're all tired.
It's
Okay,
a long one.
call the vote.
All right, Brandy's absent. Hassan?
Yes.
David Bailey?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Miran?
Yes.
Becky's absent. David Lasher?
Yes.
Lori?
yes,
Hassan?
Yes.
Gabriel, yes. Isam?
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you, Frank. All right,
Thank you, Barry.
wow.
Thank you, Frank.
Well, it's a messy right ahead. We told you
We
what.
did the heavy lifting, okay?
Do we have someone from?
Yes, they're here.
Yes, they
All
are
right.
both. We have the
All right,
architects.
okay, I was going to,
You want to hold it up?
I was going to ask for a break, but I will, yes, Francis, just a
no,
second.
sorry, Jason did all those words. Who seconded Jason's submission, or Rashad?
David.
David, okay.
The amended was
All right.
Hassan.
So,
Let's take the break.
Let's take, can we do?
are you okay? Is it okay if we take a break? We're breaking behind schedule on yours. Item 9,
Okay, item number 9 is a discussion with the developer and the engineer on a proposed commercial development at the corner of Rinaldi and Wilbur. John is the owner and the developer, and he has his architect, Valdemar, am I correct? Valdemar? Here today to speak about their project. Please.
all right, please, John.
Hello, my name is John Okoye, and I'm the owner of the property, and our intention is to build 2 buildings on the corner, one right on the corner of Rinaldi and Wilbur, and the other one on Wilbur, or actually on Rinaldi. And the usage of the building is office use, and we plan on moving our headquarters over there. We have an office right now in Mission Hills. We plan on moving to Porter Ranch. Just so you know, I live in Granada Hills, right on the border of Porter Ranch. So I'm really familiar with the area. I understand some of the concerns that came up at the city when we're going over it. And we're ready to address everything. This is Vladimir, he's my architect, he worked on this project. And the pictures of the two buildings are up over here, and the plans and the footprint is up. So I'm going to hand it over to Vladimir, he has more information.
Good evening, my name is Vladimir Elmanovich. I'm an architect for the project. And the project is located on an unusually narrow and challenging site along the Rinaldi and the southwest corner of Wilbur. The property is divided into two buildings so that we can reduce the massing and have a better articulation of the building mass that would relate to the homes that are across the street. And both buildings are separated by the long and narrow parking lot. The site offers many challenges, including the fact that we have along the entire length of the southern property line, we have a very large water line that is buried on the ground somewhere between 10 and 20 feet, and it is very old, in the neighborhood of 80 or 100 years old, and it has a very long list of limitations that Metropolitan Water District imposes on what can be done in the easement area, which takes part of the property. Property also has a lot of slope, particularly on the eastern side. We have over 20 feet of variation in grade between Rinaldi, where the slope goes down, and makes a challenge in utilizing this property for intended use for the buildings and the parking lot and the landscaping. And we distributed copies of landscape plan to all of you, and hopefully that is readable. In the legend, some of the trees that our landscape architect was able to make native, it is shown. It's kind of shown in a little small frame that says native. So some of the trees and planting material and ground cover. And right now approximately 1/3 of the landscaping areas is proposed to be planted in native materials. If there's any questions, please ask us. I could talk about more specifically why we why we're requesting variance, if that would be useful.
Yeah, you do that as well, but I'd like you to also add and let the community know how long this project's been going, and that you've been working not just with the neighborhood council, because we've come into this picture, but we were made aware that you've had an extensive relationship with the councilman's office for how many years?
Oh yeah, you might talk about how originally you had that modern look, and so they did work with the councilman's office. We went to the hearing for, actually we had 3 land use members, David and I and one of our stakeholders attending the hearing, and this is very much more like what we have here in Porter Ranch. Actually kind of looks like the Y. But they worked with, to get this more Mediterranean style. Originally it was more of a modern, a lot of glass windows and things like that. But I think the initial thing was about the variance. And if you could explain to them why, because it is 2-story, which is like the neighboring, I know you have
building
neighboring in the back, and then the 3-story one is on a set down. Can you kind of explain that, and then why the variance is necessary because of that parcel? If you could kind of explain that, because I think people want to understand why the variance is requested.
So part of the approval process that we have to go through is to get a variance approval. And variance is for the height of the building. Now, the reason why we're requesting it is because the property is sloped down from Rinaldi, and because of adjacent property to the south of us, that is between our property and the freeway, is zoned as agricultural land. It's empty land. It's, I believe it's owned by Caltrans. Due to zoning regulations, that is considered as a more restrictive zone. And with this measuring distances from that zone, we are limited in certain heights, in 25 and 33-foot height limits. And that is measured from the very lowest point of the adjacent Caltrans area, and not measured from the sidewalk of Rinaldi or anything that would be on the Rinaldi side. So because of that adjacent property being so much lower than Rinaldi, we have to actually request a variance because the building otherwise would be exceeding the height limit. Now, when pedestrian or anybody visiting the building sees it from the Rinaldi or from across the street, they will just see two-story building. And a building that would completely comply with queue condition requirements that we have on the property, that building does not exceed 36-foot height limit as measured from the sidewalk. And all of these distance and measurements are shown in our proposed plans. If you would like to talk about more of the history of projects, John can say that the project has actually been attempted to be developed for many years.
Yeah, originally we had a building design that looked like the building, the new Kaiser building that came up on Rinaldi. It was an all-glass building. And when we took it to the councilman's office, they disapproved. They said this is a residential area and the building needs to look more homely because there's more homes adjacent to this building. So we went back to the drawing board and we drove around the area. We looked at the buildings that were in the area. We went into the Porter Ranch Country Club. We looked at the building next door. We looked at a lot of buildings and decided to go with the Spanish-style building that we have here, so it'll fit the neighborhood a lot better. So this is the second design from the original design, and we've made a lot of tweaks and try to make it really look nice, so it'll be an addition to the neighborhood.
Quick couple of questions. Where's the parking going to be for the business?
So the parking is located, majority of it essentially between two buildings. If you look at the property, I can point out to you on the map if you'd like to see.
That's right, I just want to know, it's not street parking, it is...
It's completely on the property. Completely on the property.
You have underground lot too, right, on the three-story building?
The building A has a basement level that has, majority of it is parking as well.
And that's why it's 3 stories, right?
And
That's correct.
you mentioned what's the business that is coming good?
So we're going to have a call center in there. We're going to have accounting. We're going to have human resources for a national plumbing company. So we're going to answer the phones, and we're going to supply probably about, I'd say, 75 to 100 jobs. And we have 100. I think we have 110 parking spots on the property.
What is the parking? Is it via Rinaldi or is it?
We only have one entrance for the parking lot, and that is located on Rinaldi. We were told by several community members and also by Department of Transportation they would rather not see any entrance or exit from Wilbur as much as possible. So the parking entrance, driveway entrance is far away from Wilbur intersection as about 230 feet, and is only one entrance.
David, go ahead. It's not your fault, but that scares the heck out of me. I got reared in there if I got going 45 miles an hour, pushed into 2 cars. They've had fatalities there, they've had a lot of accidents there. It's kind of a blind turn. It's hard to turn right on red at Wilbur and Rinaldi because the car's coming down there at 50, which is not your fault, it's a speeding issue. And the turn, but if that's the only entrance, you're gonna have people, I guarantee you, people trying to turn left out of the driveway to go west of Rinaldi because they don't care. It's scary. Right where that first cut is, I get rear-ended by, stop traffic by a kid driving a BMW 40 miles an hour.
Well, we understand that right in, right out, that would be conditioned for this driveway access.
Hopefully the city will then work on the street light and fix it.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
So no, one of the things that we've talked about at the city with them was the concern of the numerous accidents. So that's one of the things that we're really going to try and push with DOT, because there's quite a few things that are sitting on Ken Feruzman's desk, I believe. So we would like to do that, and if you're going to be a possible right-in, right-out, that might be another option as well. But that's a very dangerous corner, I agree, and we've talked about that before. But once again, their entrance, and I hit this when we talked about the city, it's 230 feet from the corner, which is pretty far. Would you talk about, one of the things that you brought up at the meeting at the city was the access for the other building next door. You were saying that there's an access that they can get in that way as well, to keep
The adjacent office building has a driveway directly on Wilbur. There is a current driveway that leads to dirt area that is accessed by the Metropolitan Water District to maintain the existing 2 manholes that are servicing the water pipe that they have. As a part of agreement and with Metropolitan Water District that was reached, we actually will be providing to them driveway access rights through our parking lot and our driveway, so that they can access the manholes without utilizing that Wilbur driveway, but they will be actually using a driveway from Rinaldi and entering our parking lot and then accessing the manhole, so they can get their trucks to go through our parking lot for both of the manholes that are existing right now.
Maybe I misunderstood you, because I was under the impression that your driveway would also be accessible for the building next door.
That is not part of the plan, no.
Okay, thank you, it's not true.
Quick question. Fire trucks or ambulance, where
Yes.
would their entrance or?
The fire trucks, the primary service area would be actually from Rinaldi or from Wilbur. If they decide to stop there, they would be able to go in a parking lot and utilize that as well.
So like in the case of your Rinaldi out, then you have a fire escape on Wilbur.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I have a suggestion. I'm kind of going through, you saw me at the last, talking about the trees and stuff, so I'm going to go back to the trees. The desert willow, I see it's a native, but, I think it would be good to think about doing some like sycamores and oaks, which are consistent with the natives around this area, because they provide part of the ecosystem, and it all ties in, because you go right up, even through the country club, all the way up through the canyons, rather than going with like a desert willow or Chinese flame tree. I see you have 30 Chinese flame trees, but I think you could use sycamores and oaks, and I see you have a lot of toyo, but I think that's a good recommendation. I'm in support of the project, after going to the hearing, but I'd like to see you stick to what we have in the community. So if you could ask the landscape designer to try and use sycamores rather than the flame tree and the willow. I think that would be great. And as far as the street trees, we have the Urban Forestry Department. Those are basically going to be the same that are all along Rinaldi. Those 50 that just got planted, they're called Canary Island pines. So that's what you're going to end up using there, because I see you didn't put what it's going to be. So I just want to make those comments and suggestions. But I am comfortable with the project, but I do want to hear from the community, and we're hearing from the board. So, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Part of the issue we have with specific type of trees is the roots, because NWD and their water line that's adjacent to the property in the easement, they had very strict guidelines on what kind of trees we could put over 100-year-old high-pressure water line. So,
would you be willing? Did they give you a specific list?
I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to ask the landscape architect, but I do know that we went back and forth several times because of the roots of the tree, and they do not want trees that have deep roots. In fact, they don't want any roots
Yeah.
in the ground. So it was,
That's the
you
main
know,
water line running through.
it's the main water line that's running through. And if something happens to it because of roots, then, the guidelines on the building alone, just the foundation wise and everything, to not put any weight on that pipe has been very, very difficult to design, but, that might be one of the issues.
Did you know that water line was there when you bought it?
I knew it was there, but I didn't know how difficult it's gonna be to build around
That's the
it.
trunk line.
I'm going to ask the public for questions or comments. Andrew?
It's going to be a while. I win the award for closest to this project, so I've got a whole laundry list. So consider me, I guess, a representative of all the homes directly across the street.
Okay.
And I apologize to sound like a bit of a hole, but because I'm across the street, I grew up a block from that corner. I traverse that corner every day. This is a very emotionally sensitive issue for me in this project. Okay, so I'm gonna bounce around probably a little bit from both of you, and everyone bear with me. You indicated that building A is going to be mainly where your company is housed. At 75 to 100 people. I worked for a company for many years where we designed office spaces and then we crammed them full of people at a massive rate. Because there is no place to put cars outside of your parking spots other than onto Rinaldi, and I'll get to the dangers of Rinaldi here in a minute, what is the maximum amount of people you are considering from your company in building A being in there? Kind of as your company may grow, as this plumbing company grows, does 100 people become 150, 175? What are your, if you can answer that quickly.
Yeah, right now we have 35.
Okay.
So we don't see ourselves, in the number I gave you was the max that we believe is gonna happen within the next 3 years. But as of today, there's only 30 to 35 people that work in the office. We're actually we're in a 4,500 square foot building right now on Sepulveda.
Okay, what are your business hours? Are you a 24/7? So there'll be people manning this call center over 3 shifts?
We close at 8 o'clock on the call center, and then we forward it to an evening service.
Okay. I assume the water line is the North Valley trunk, and
Granada trunk.
What?
Well, Granada trunk is Granada Hills trunk line. That's what I know.
I don't believe that. I don't think we'll call it that. So there's a lateral trunk across the North Valley. The reason is you and I are in a distinctive club. I was a homeowner in Chatsworth that didn't know that the DeSoto trunk ran through the side yard. So that is a 110-year-old, at least 48-inch pipe. I will tell you again, as being close to that, I was a homeowner on that, basically connected to that trunk. That is a scary, scary thing. So I understand you're going to have an issue with the trees because the water company, I had this issue because it was literally in my side yard. I had to have them come out, they had to survey it, there was a whole process. That scares me because I know DWP is looking at doing major renovations. They're looking at, just so everyone is aware, they're looking at doing a major upgrade to the DeSoto trunk. All these pipes are of equal age. I don't know if they've shared at all with you any future plans in upgrading the trunk across the North Valley, because that would affect what would happen with this property. So I share that. Maybe that's something you can go back with them. The EIR for this project, when was that done? Is there one for a project like this?
I think it would probably still be the existing EIR
From eons ago?
That 91 is that specific plan area. This is not specific plan area. I'm not sure.
Okay, so I raised the EIR issue. Let's talk Rinaldi. You said you live, I assume, over by Zelza, which is the Porter Ranch Granada. This corner is beyond horrible. You will not be able to leave your building between 4 and 6 because you can't move on Rinaldi. Okay? That's just a fact. It's going to be made worse by the continued Toll Brother expansion. it's no disrespect to your company or your plan. I can't fathom anybody utilizing this corner because of the traffic, and the traffic is not going to go away. It's only going to get worse. Mr. Lasher commented about accidents. Again, I'm here. I'm usually the first on scene at least once a month when there's an accident at this corner. There will be cars that go into building B. There are cars that go up onto the golf course, onto the homes on the north side. Until the city addresses the traffic issue, this is an incredibly dangerous area to put a project. So I'm very leery on those grounds as well. I would like to ask, 2 steps, where is this in the overall process of being built? I mean, are we like at the tail end again where planning's already approved it?
Yes. It's at the city planning, and this is going to the zoning administrator for a decision. And we attended the first hearing, and we let them know that we had not had an opportunity to review the project, and they agreed to come. And it was kind of during the holidays, and they worked with us, so they put it off a month or 2, but they're here now. But essentially, the zoning administrator will be unilaterally making a decision on this variance. It's essentially just the variance. This is for the most part by right, but it's that variance because of that special piece of, right? You're asking for basically the variance on the height.
Right. I got it. So the point is, quite frankly, whether or not the board approves of this project, the project's going to get built. Is that realistically where we're at?
Yeah, the variance is for the back of the property. Okay. So it's like the freeway side, because they zoned that easement or that, land between the freeway and our land. They zoned it a specific zone, A1, which requires height restrictions. And if we were to build this building without the variance, I'll tell you, all you would see, would be air conditioners and, the roof, flat roofs from Rinaldi. It would look horrible because you would just see all equipment along Rinaldi. The reason the variance is important is because it raises the building not to higher than usual on Rinaldi, because we're under the height restriction on Rinaldi, but it's because of the back of the property. And it's actually going to make the building, and it's going to make it more beautiful from the street level or the sidewalk level than it would if the variance wasn't approved.
Okay, so being that really whatever I'm going to comment or ask is probably relatively irrelevant at this point because it's happening. My final comment would be, as someone across the street from this, I would ask, I'm sure it won't happen, but I would ask that if your company is going to occupy building A, then don't build building B. Keep it park, keep it grass, keep it someplace for your employees to come out so that this area remains a little bit of and granted it's just a dirt lot right now, but we don't need to build on every square inch of dirt in this community. We're doing it with homes, we did it with the vineyard. I'm taking ownership of this corner. This is my corner. I learned how to ride my bike on the 118 when the 118 went in. Okay. The other diagonal corner is the golf course. It's wooded, it's parky. It would be lovely, and I think a wonderful gesture to the neighbors. If building B didn't go in and it was parky, then you can, in essence, the community can come be a part of your project and your company by all the bikers, all the joggers who are in this area, and it will allow, God forbid, if accidents continue in this corner, a buffer between you having a property that's damaged due to traffic collisions and any potential safety issues related to that. So that would be my genuine request. If that was accommodated as a neighbor, I would support this. If not, I would say don't support this because I just value my old Porter Ranch, quite frankly.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Okay? Anything final from the board?
So just to go off of what Andrew was getting at, is there any greenbelt areas? I know that there's a greenbelt area in the front of the building on the corner, but is there any green behind the building, between the buildings? Anything, that the community should know about?
There is some green between the buildings as well. There's a lot of landscape that's going around it. And as you can see, the building is not right on the corner. There's a lot of buffer between the corner and where the corner building is. And I respect what you're saying about, having the land open. I think the building being there will actually slow the traffic down from the cars coming down Wilbur, because right now there's nothing there. I mean, if you're driving fast, you see a big building, you're going to want to slow down. But I could be wrong. But I am in support of putting a street light over there in the corner and doing all that. But originally, before we bought this property, they had a building design in the corner. SNS had a building design in the corner. They had a building going from the corner all the way to the other end. So we're putting the buildings further from each other, and there is a lot of land between the buildings. Sure.
Yes, as somebody, maybe this is just a comment, but as somebody who uses Wilbur and Rinaldi every day, I am worried about the traffic. Your comment, I think you understated things. It concerns me. I frankly don't understand why there's so many accidents at that intersection. To me, it's clear, it's broad, there are lights, but the kinds of accidents that I've seen there, or that I've come past after they've occurred, it's frightening. I just don't know how, I don't think that intersection can take any more traffic. So I'm really worried about what will happen if a commercial building goes there. It frightens me to think about that.
Yeah, I also drive from there every single day, so I understand what I take my kids to school, and I'm on Rinaldi every school day that they go to school, both directions. So I know the traffic there as well, and there's not going to be a whole lot of people, and the hours that people are going to come in and out is not going to be during the traffic hours. So I don't think it's going to contribute a whole lot to the traffic, not as much as the amount of homes that are being built. Our business hours are from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Yeah, but they come in layers, so not everybody comes in at the same time. So most people are in between 9 o'clock, and some people are out by 3 o'clock. So we have an early morning shift coming in, and then we have an afternoon shift that leaves later, more closer towards like 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. So the traffic really dies down. I know that high traffic hours are right after school and right before 6 o'clock, because I know I've driven there. I drive there all the time to get home as well. So I understand the concern. I don't think, having some people that are going to be employed over there that are going to cause a whole lot more traffic than what we have over right now. And I think the traffic accidents on the corner are happening because there's no left turn signal. I think that's the main thing. Anywhere you have cars that are going fast, if there is no left turn signal, I have a teenage driver, and we constantly coach him on left turns because I see accidents happening on left turns all the time. People don't stop, they want to run a yellow light, they see the yellow and they want to hit the gas pedal. So, I'm as concerned as you are, because I have a teenage boy that's on the streets now, for his safety. And frankly, I think the building there will slow traffic down. I mean, currently right now, we have an empty lot, and all you see is parked cars over there. I think it looks worse, having a car parking lot in the corner. And I think the building's going to beautify the neighborhood. And that's my opinion.
It's still on the traffic, and I have 30 years of traffic, street light design and all that. Have you done a traffic mitigation plan at this time? Is LADOT like requesting from you, let's say, median? Because the way you're structured now, somebody visiting your building could go make a left westward, and it's gonna be an accident waiting to happen.
It's a right in and right out, and we do have DOT, yes. You want to address that?
Right. The plans were submitted to DOT, and then they analyzed the proposed project, and they found it within the general plan that they already have in place, so they did not request any additional studies to be done.
I looked at the paperwork, they didn't request.
All right.
But as a board, you know, are you gonna take more?
I thought we already had more comments.
Well, I think we want to figure out what we're gonna make a motion or to support this project, if we're gonna ask something to be done from the city with respect to traffic mitigation, the council.
I was not asked for an action item.
No, you can't take action. Well, let me just finish my statement. I did talk to Eric Moody at the councilman's office, and that left turn signal is approved. I know I've been hearing it's approved, but I did confirm it is approved, but it's a funding issue, they're saying. And there's several things that are, so I think as a board, maybe we can't do it this month, but maybe as a board, we can request from the councilman's office to prioritize that left-hand turn signal. I just came from Northridge West, and that came up, every month it comes up at your meeting? I don't know.
I bring it up, so.
Every single month this thing comes up. Everybody's mentioned.
We've been talking about it for 18 months here.
So it's approved, we need to find the funding. So I think we need to seriously take that, maybe a letter.
Okay.
A strong letter to the councilman's office to get funding for that left-hand turn signal.
All right. Anything else for these gentlemen? Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Sorry for the delay.
No, it's okay.
Yes, sorry. All right, we are severely behind schedule. Let me try to go through this. I can tell you that item 11 will not be heard today. That will be moved to February. So on item 10, is there Jessica Miller in the house? Is there anyone representing the Nobel NPG request?
Not well supported. It's a great point.
Nobody here representing the Nobel PTSA. Okay, it's on. Well, no, it's on the agenda. So the NPG request is in the packet. It is a request from Nobel Community School PTSA to support their annual run. We've dealt with that in past years. They're asking for a $500 support and to include our name on the T-shirts that they used for the run. So
I'll make a motion on that.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the NPG request in the amount of...
Well, before we change it, I mean, is there an objection to a motion to approve the NPG at the requested values? All right, so can I have a motion then for...
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the MPG request in a lesser amount of $250.
Okay, can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Gabriel will second. Okay, public comment on the request. Would you please step up to the mic?
So I have a child at Nobel. I think Abby do too. So I mean, this board has supported this. I think this is the third year. I urge you to do it again, with one caveat, and I was hoping that the representatives would be here. They run down Cessna, they run down Aliso Canyon Park. Do I even have to say it here? They should move the route away from the facility. We are asking young people to run a long distance in the shadow of the monster. So I would like...
And the fires.
And the fires. So there's particulate issues with that. So please support. I would like, if whoever reaches out, hopefully you pass this, that you would ask them nicely to strongly consider moving the route. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, would you step up?
anything for kids I support, but when I was president of the neighborhood council here, I always required somebody who is from outside of our neighborhood council to give back something to this community. And unfortunately, many groups that we turned down, like when we had the community cleanups up here, we cleaned Reseda Boulevard, Tampa, Cessnon, they never showed up. They should not come here just asking for money. These kids need to learn at a very early age, they should be giving back to the community. So they should come up here and at least help us with the cleanups or something if they're going to come from outside of the Port Ranch area asking for money.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
My kids didn't go to Nobel, but there are quite a few Porter Ranch kids that do go to Nobel. And I think it's the 6th year that we would be supporting it. I have t-shirts from 5 years ago for this Toby run. And I agree with Andrew, though, that the route could be changed. So if it's approved, if they mentioned that to run in the safer line of travel, I would agree with that too.
Okay, thank you. All right.
That's just one question about the paperwork.
Coming back to the board, yeah,
Oh,
go
sorry,
ahead.
my bad. So it looks like the application though is kind of incorrect because it says, have you applied to other neighborhood councils requests, and then they put Porter Ranch down here. And then question number 8, is the implementation of a specific program, have you looked at other sources of funding? Hasn't been filled out. So those are my couple concerns. Andrew's had a lot of experience. Do you think they're going to reject it with those missing?
I think if the board in principle agrees that the 500 is what is approved, that quite frankly, you can do it with the caveat that the section was filled out, and the city, in my history, the city has not had an issue.
Okay.
You'll get an updated application you send off, and your BAC will still be valid.
Other board comments, please?
Yes.
David, quickly.
Personally, I would rather have this tabled for them to come and speak on their behalf. I think it's unreasonable for the board to vote on something unless they show up.
I second.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion.
You withdraw your motion?
Hold on. We have a motion on the floor and a second. It's live ammo.
Okay.
We got to vote on it. So, any other discussion?
Can
All
I
right.
make a comment then? Is that acceptable?
Of course.
Okay, all right. So I've been on the Nobel PTSA. It is a super challenge to get parents to volunteer in middle school. I have 4 kids at elementary, middle, and high school. It's a great program. I hate for it to get dismissed because they couldn't show up. It is just really hard to get parents to come out. It really is.
I'm not saying to dismiss it by any means.
Yeah.
I sit in here at this school.
Yeah.
I raise funds for this school. If I need money, I show up and I ask for it.
I
Doesn't matter
100%
what-
agree. I'm just going to tell you, it's a black hole at Nobel, and I don't want the kids to miss out because their PTSD failed.
No, but they should come to the board and request it.
Yep, I'm totally okay with that. I just wanted to say.
And I appreciate the comment. It's important.
Just quickly,
Andrew?
can you clarify, was everything that's supposed to happen today previously scheduled at another meeting that got canceled?
Yeah.
Yes, but
Yes. And were those people confirmed to attend that meeting?
let me go to where you're going. I have notified both MPG requesting members that we will be putting this on tonight's agenda, and they recognize that that's coming on here. So they did.
You almost went where I wanted to go. If they were going to show up, I assume a week ago, and they were going to come, but they can't on a rescheduled meeting,
Well,
I asked for latitude with that.
The thing is, they were going to show up here today, and they were going to show up last time. I don't know if they were going to show up last time, so I can't make a pass judgment on that. So we have a motion and a second. Call the vote.
All right, Randy. Absent. Hassan. David Balin.
No.
Jason.
Yes.
Mira.
No.
Becky. Absent. David Lasher.
No.
Lori.
No.
Hassan.
No.
Gabriel. Based on everything, I'm gonna have to go no. Isam.
Yes.
And motion does not pass.
Can I ask it, are you guys voting on to make the amendment? Or are you guys?
No.
We're voting on the reduced NPG fund of $250.
Okay, so then you guys are voting if that there will be an amendment to that, from 500 to 250.
The motion, the MPG request was 500. There was no motion for the 500 to amend. It was just a motion for a 250 funding towards this MPG.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify.
Yes. All right.
Hassan was a no.
Next item, as I mentioned, item 11, I was informed that they cannot make it today, so they asked that we move it to the February meeting, and so we are tabling that motion to the February meeting. And for what it's worth, for the Nobel PTSA, there's nothing that precludes them from submitting it again for February for consideration. If they can make it, we can vote on it again.
Yes.
May I say one, may I make a comment?
Of course.
Anyone who's sitting up there, and again, I've been in your seat, if they show up next month and you vote yes, then respectfully, shame on you for not voting yes today.
Okay. Item 12, actually, let me ask this. Without objection, I have had a request from the board to move an item up, and that would be item 15. So without objection, I'd like to move it up to this time slot. Any problems with that?
No problem.
Okay, item 15, Jason, it's a 10-minute item. Can you cut it
I'll
down?
try and go quickly.
Go ahead.
So we had a really robust discussion last night in Northridge West, and there was, they agreed to partner with us, but I want to back up a little bit and talk about the money that, the $8,000 from the councilman's office. So this is something when Greg Smith was in office that we were working on as a beautification committee. Agreed we wanted to bring public art to Port Ranch. So one of the things that I was trying to get is access to the cultural affairs funds at the councilman's office. So the way this project works is we have a company. I'm sorry. No, we're on.
We're item 15. We're item 15, Francis.
Remember the art boxes we talked about last time?
15.
1-5. It's okay.
Makes a difference.
So the way that it works is when you get funding from Department of Cultural Affairs, there's a specific process you got to go through, a very cumbersome process, a 40-page contract, a call to artists. So basically what 1111 does is the administration of everything. So there'll be, I don't know if you guys, are you familiar with kind of the way the project's going to work? Do you want me to get into details about it?
We really don't have the
Okay.
What is in front of us right now?
So what we've decided is we went through the beautification committee, essentially. We went through looking at JP Murals, we talked to CSUN, and we looked at 1111, and we decided that the problem with individual artists is that they don't do any of the administration part, and we secured this funding with the councilman's office, and we need to use this funds because John Lee may or may not be in office. We don't know what's going to happen. We want to utilize these funds. So 1111 is going to handle all the administration and work on the back end, securing the 8,000, and we're partnering with Northridge West in sharing the funds with them. So 4,000 will go to Northridge West. They're putting up 5,000, so that's 9,000 on their side. We're putting up 4,000 from the city, 5,000 from us, so that's another 9,000. It's an $18,000 project. I brought this project to Northridge West to make it a bigger and better project, to save us money too in our budget, because not only are we getting money from the city, but also we're making it a bigger project. We're all going through Northridge all the time, but they have some fantastic locations in Northridge as well. So we're going to do, all the boxes are on the motion there. We're going to do Rinaldi, all along Rinaldi, not in the specific plan area because there's other funding for that area, but we're just doing, I listed it on the motion, all those locations. And then they have several locations, but we have two board members from Northridge West here to speak on what they're doing, but
how many boxes are we paying in Port Ranch?
I believe it's 7, I think, they're $1,250.
So we think
They're $1,250 each box, so the motion is for $9,000, so I think it's 7.
It's 7, yeah, 7 and 9.
I think we're each doing 7 boxes. Yeah. So $1,000 goes to the artist, and then $250 is for everything else, administration of the program, the insurance, and all that.
And when would that happen?
So in the process, the first thing that's going to have to happen, well, it's probably like a 4 to 6 month process, if that's your question. But if you want to know the next steps, I can.
It'll happen in 2020?
Yes,
The
summertime.
funding will take place, but yeah, it might be summer.
Summer of 2020.
Okay, so item 15 is a straight up motion. So you want to read that motion?
Yes. Motion to authorize PRNC to contract with 1111 and Art Collective for painting utility boxes in Porter Ranch with a budget not to exceed $5,000 and collaborate with Northridge West CD12, the Department of Cultural Affairs for matching funds to be shared equally with Northridge West Neighborhood Council.
To be clear, can we clarify that of painting 7 utility boxes? It's sort of open-ended. This might mean 1 box.
Painting utility boxes. Well, it's in the motion sheet. You know how you do your.
No, I understand, but what are we passing here for the record?
At least 7 boxes.
I think that's probably what we could talk about.
Yeah, just add the number 7 for painting 7 utility
Painting
boxes.
7, okay,
Just add 7.
so I'm okay with that. Okay, so we're gonna add the number 7 between painting and utility. So painting 7 utility boxes.
All right, can I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Public comment? Please step up. And then board comment. Public comment first.
I'm totally in favor of this item, but I just wanted to know, is this gonna have a Western theme to it? Or is it gonna be abstract art that we don't even know what it is that they're painting on there? I would like to see a Western theme that goes along with Porter Ranch, if possible, if we can get an answer.
So, Ron, so I think there are going to be different themes. So if a box happens to be near a fire station, it's going to have more of a fire station theme. If there's a box near, let's say, Devonshire Police Department, it'll have more of a an LAPD theme. If it's up here near the wilderness, we'll have, hawks and coyotes and deers and all the animals that we don't see very often anymore.
And so there's also a committee too, so
Correct.
we're gonna have a committee. So there's gonna be more discussion on this. We're gonna bring things back to the board, but essentially Northridge West is gonna have representatives on the committee. I think Cultural Affairs will have people on there. We will be on there. David and I will be on there. And so there'll be some discussion about the locations and the themes and the artists and the paintings itself, what the art will look like.
I don't think so. Go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm Kelly Suter, and I'm Northridge West Neighborhood Council. And the one thing I did want to say, we are moving this project forward, but I wanted to acknowledge and thank Jason for bringing it to our attention. It was not something that was on our radar. He came back in September at one of our board meetings to bring up the idea of utility boxes, and I think he's been very forthcoming in terms of sharing his insight and his resources and all of the information that he went out and got and shared it with our neighborhood council. I really appreciate that as a neighborhood council, and I think the more that we can share with each other across is really a great effort. So I just want to acknowledge and appreciate him for doing
Thank
that.
you, thank you. Any other, just a second.
Before you continue, there is information missing. The way Northridge West approved it is with if matching funds are not obtained and equally shared by the above named parties, NWNC reserve the right to withdraw from the contract or the agreement.
Right, so their concern was so originally we had negotiated this as a committee for Porter Ranch, but what in my thinking is that we could leverage and make this a bigger project and actually save money from our budget and make it even bigger, better project by bringing these guys in. So they were just concerned that if the money didn't come through, the 4,000, that they would be able to back out. That's why they put that in their motion.
So you don't feel the need to have it in our motion?
No, because we are the ones in the driver's seat with the funds. So
what if the 8,000 does not come through?
If the 8,000 doesn't come through, then the motion wouldn't be able to go through because it's part of, the funding would not be available. We wouldn't be able to do the 7 boxes. Well, you wouldn't be able to fulfill the motion. You wouldn't be able to fulfill the needs of the motion because the needs are saying 7 boxes. and working with 1111. So we would have to come back to the board and amend the motion.
Point of order. You pass the motion, doesn't mean you have to do it.
Just a second, just a second. All right, so you're raising concern about it. That can drive somebody to vote on the motion as it exists as a no, unless the author of the motion decides to modify it. So right now, you made a comment on it. Let me ask others. Gabe, what do you have?
Do we have any guarantees about the funding for CD12? Do we have?
I have, yes, I do in writing. I have multiple emails. So when John Lee took office, I corresponded with John Lee because this is something that I worked out with Greg Smith. I've been working with Ron Rubine at the council office. So I did get an email from them that they can do 8,000. And when we talked, I said, well, can I bring other people in to make this a bigger, better project? I reached out to other neighborhood councils. I reached out to Granada Hills North. They didn't want to really, they didn't take it and run. And these guys, they were open to it, and we worked together, and they're on board. So,
and I did speak with Ron directly as well, and he said that those funds were allocated to Jason in this project.
And I appreciate that. The thing is, that's not a guarantee.
I totally agree. I just say you're hearing it.
The way the council to guarantee this is two ways. One, which is the simple way, which is letter of confirmation from the controller office with a confirmed account number and an expiration time of the amount. That's one. Or the final way, which is a full motion that they say this motion by John Lee and somebody seconds on it, and it allocates the fund number, expiration date, and where the money goes.
But we're not there yet, so.
Yes,
yeah.
no, I mean, without these two,
No, I understand.
you're not guaranteed anything. Email is nothing.
Just saying. Somebody, Lori, want to say something?
I thought we had approved up to 4,000 for this project.
right, so this is raising it to 5, essentially. This is, the 4,000 is, I'm raising it up to 5 so that we can do, they were doing 5, so I wanted to.
But you understand, we had a motion that passed at 4. This doesn't mention it.
Yeah, so maybe, do we need to do something?
So that's another item
I
you
guess
may
that's a
want to
question
consider.
for Dunn. So basically, we passed this at 4,000 in more of a generic capacity, but now we're getting more specific into who we're going to work with. And so that 4,000 is not going to be utilized. We're raising that 4,000. So should
And
I?
that's
put in
what
there?
this motion needs to be. It's about raising the limit from 4 to 5.
Good point, yeah.
Any other?
Plus at the same time.
Last-
Let me respond to Hogan.
Please reword it to have that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that the make the friendly amendment, or how do we?
And the
Let me-
question on the per item cost, Lisa. A lot of the other cities and all that, they average and range between $600 to $800 a box. I don't know where we ended with the 1250. That's another question, and I'll be quiet.
No,
$1,000, so the way that it works is $1,000 goes to the artist for this. And so have you seen the boxes that were done in Chatsworth on Devonshire? That's the same company that did the ones, yes. So this is the type of artwork that we want, the type of quality. We want high quality artwork. That is the goal for the project. So $1,000 goes to the artist, and the $250 is for the other things which are part of getting the money for cultural affairs.
Okay, let David speak.
I love the boxes, I think they're great, but I don't know where in the world we're getting, we should pay $1,200 for them. I work for the city of Burbank, as some people know. We pay like 20 or 30 of them, some are a little goofy, but we give them $650. That's for the artist. The artist can be a group of kids from a school. We've talked about this going back to August, and each time we mentioned grad students from USC, CSUN might pay to them. Castle Bay or Fort Ranch Community School might get a group of kids to do it. They get the design approved, it gets through. Jason was talking about an tough process. An application has a line diagram of what you're going to do, how it's going to work. You fill it out, you complete it, submit it. Then the beautification committee votes on it. They're getting $650 inclusive of everything. I gave it, everybody gets the handout. Rancho Bernardo. The artist is a volunteer. The artist agrees to perform all work as a volunteer with no compensation. $1,200 is a lot of money for this to give money to a North Hollywood art club.
Okay, thank you.
Jason, who was your contact in the Department of Culture?
I'm not working with cultural affairs.
So they are not part of this program, right?
No. So the way that it works is The funds are secured, so 1111 works with Cultural Affairs and the Councilman's Office together.
So either one of them, because the 1111,
Either one of them.
so 111, the way they work, they need to secure at least $10,000 in order to start with the project. You can say no, but that's how it works.
Exactly.
Okay.
Anything?
Well, the project
I'd
is
like to make
$18,000 project.
I'd like to make a comment also as a board member. What troubles me about this is that the beautification committee went to another board to discuss this project with the details of it and the funding of it before it came to its own board to discuss the details and the funding of it. I don't understand why the beautification committee chair, without board input and approval, went to another neighborhood council and negotiated a deal for funding when this board had not even heard of it yet. Help me understand, how did it get to that point without this board having any knowledge of it?
So we've had meetings, David and I have been working with so the 4,000 was passed. When the 4,000 was passed, we were working on different options. So the $4,000 motion was for public art in Porter Ranch. So we're doing the research on the different options with respect to that. So we looked into the different artists, and we also have been working with the councilman's office. So
I understand. The process works. We gave you the funding to get going on this. The idea is to come back to the board with what your recommendation
well,
is.
this is the recommendation.
But the problem is, you went to another board and negotiated with them as from us, when there was no authorization to do that, or request to do that. I don't
We have no obligation
basis.
we have no obligation to do that. We could say no. So I'm bringing that's what we're proposing.
Okay.
So it's up to the board if they agree with the idea. If not, what we can do is work with the entire 8,000, and that's why they have in their motion what Assad is pointing out, contingent upon securing the CD12 funds. So if we want, as a board, we can say we'll take that 8,000, but we'll need to raise this motion up to $8,000 if we want to capture that whole matching. Otherwise, let's say we do it at 5,000, they'll match 5,000, and we'll have a $10,000 project, and we'll do the amount of boxes. But the whole idea is that I'm not an art administrator, okay? And and this goes to what David is saying. Are you volunteering to administrate this project and secure funds through the councilman's office? That's a whole process that I'm not prepared to undertake. Personally, I don't think we could do it ourselves personally, but I hope I answered the question with respect
No,
to...
because my comment is not about the project. My comment is about the process. This board needed to hear the details and brainstorm on how to approach a neighboring board as a board decision, but that never happened, and I think that was not correct.
Okay. Well,
All right.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
Yes?
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I was going to make a comment about the wording on the motion. An individual neighborhood council cannot contract. The city of Los Angeles contracts on behalf of the neighborhood councils. So you should not be saying in your motion that a motion for Porter Ranch NC to contract.
Actually, there is no contract, actually. Initially, I thought that there would be a need to have a contract, but I've been informed that there is no need to have a contract. The way that it's going to work is that the contract will be between Cultural Affairs and 1111 to secure the funding, and the money will be issued from the city clerk's office.
So even more reasons
So I
that
can,
your motion should not have.
you're absolutely right, yeah.
Use the word.
All right.
It's
The
just-
contract part could be, but essentially hiring,
So-
working with them.
So here's where we are. You have a motion on the floor. You have the option to amend it now, or we vote on the motion as is.
No, I think the amendments all make sense. So, offshore, So rather than to say to contract with, because we won't be contracted with 1111, we could say to work with 1111 or hire, no. Yeah, we wouldn't be hiring them either. Well, we're writing them a check. We've done all that. I don't know of anyone else. And they've done their research too, because you need somebody to administer the cultural affairs.
Jason, Mehran, this is his motion.
Of course,
Give me a revised motion if you want, and let's move
I
on.
just want to respond. So Miran was proposing an artist that he knew that was going to do a box for $200, and we said, well, let's meet with this multiple times. Let's meet this person. Let's do this. And we never had a meeting. You never brought this person forward. So we need somebody who can administer this program. And this 1111 has done this throughout the whole valley. I'm not aware of anybody who could do.
So asked and answered, can you amend the motion so we can vote?
So the motion to authorize PRNC to work with 1111 and our collective for painting 7 utility boxes in Porter Ranch with a budget not to exceed $5,000 and to collaborate with...
No, we're raising the budget, remember? We're raising the approved budget from 4,000.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It needs to refer to that.
Yeah, okay. With a budget to increase from 4,000 to 5,000. Does that sound good?
From the previously approved.
Okay. With a budget from previously approved 4,000 to not to exceed 5,000, and collaborate with Northridge West, CD12, and Department of Cultural Affairs for matching funds to be shared equally with Northridge West and CD.
And we have contingent on the receipt of matching funds from CD12.
Okay, Northridge West, I don't know that. Northridge West, and then add on there, if matching funds are obtained
Are not obtained. If matching funds are not obtained.
Contingent on receipt of matching funds.
contingent upon obtaining matching funds. I don't know.
See, matching funds.
Contingent upon receiving of matching funds from
That's it.
cultural affairs.
Okay.
CD12 portion of cultural affairs funds.
Okay. Have I amended the motion? Can I have a second on the amended motion?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Public comment on the amended motion? Yes, Andrew?
Please vote yes.
Any other comment? Board? Yes?
Just a quick, I think to make sure the paints are going to be able to stand the UV.
Yeah.
If you have
Yes.
specifications for that.
Yes.
Any board comment? Go ahead.
I just want to make one comment. I know we have approved $4,000 previously. Perhaps we did it before the fires and all the disasters we had in this community. I frankly question the wisdom of spending even $4,000 to do painting on utility boxes, this and that, where we can put perhaps 10, 50, whatever number of trees. You look along many of the streets, we got burned trees. So what's the point of putting painting on utility boxes where we have all these issues? I wish you would work
We've been
more on
working on
that.
trees for so long. So
No, but
you're
now
like-
we are in a different chapter.
Yeah.
And I wish we could actually reverse that motion and put it into our trees as opposed to arts and stuff. Because it really doesn't make sense.
So I've been working with Rexon Parks on replacement trees. They've torn out all those trees. They're gonna be doing replacement trees. I've been working with the councilman's office to get trees. They just planted 50 trees on Rinaldi, and I forgot to mention that. And that's because we've been working with Ron Rubine in the councilman's office to get and those are the replacement trees from our project. The problem is we can't plant trees because the watering commitment for one tree is like $1,000. That's the 3-year commitment for watering. So we've looked into this. Our committee has been working on planting trees since Alex Kim days we've been trying to plant trees. The problem is, we have to hire a contractor to commit for 3 years to water that tree. It's 100 trips. And Hassan knows, you know, and I just talked to Urban Forestry. Their cost is $1,000 per tree to water it. So if you plant 5 trees, this would be enough for 5 trees. That's all. And we can't commit to that.
We're good. We need to vote. Call the vote.
All right, Randy is absent. Hassan?
No.
David Balin?
Yes.
Jason? Niran?
No.
Becky is absent. David Lasher?
No.
Lori?
No.
Assad? No. Gabriel? Abstain. And Isam?
No.
And motion fails.
All right. Next item. We are at 9:15. We may have to table a number of motions. I need a time-sensitive motion to bring up quickly.
Number 14.
14. Item 14.
Because it's,
Without objection, I'd like to bring item 14 up.
No.
All right, item 14, quickly.
This is a discussion and possible action to approve up to $600 to participate in 2020 Town Hall on the new sex ed curriculum with additional neighborhood councils, Northridge West, North Hills West, Granada Hills, and Northridge, actually they are here. She was working very excellent. We were in meeting discussing about this now.
So let's stick with the motion. Do we have the motion? Is there any discussion you want to have on it? Any board member want to have discussion on it? Okay, make a motion.
A motion to approve up to $600 to participate in 2020 Town Hall on the new sex ed curriculum until K-12 with additional neighborhood councils, Northridge West, North Hills West, Granada Hills, which will take place on Saturday, February 29th, between 10 and 2.
I do have one question.
Yes, just a second. I have a motion. I need a second.
Yeah,
We have a second. It's a live motion. Let me ask the public for comment. Public comment?
Did all these other...
Just go ahead, please. Step up. She's got behind you.
Oh, did all these other neighborhood councils already approve it? Okay.
Go ahead, please.
I have 4 children. About 20 years ago, I decided to stay home, to be a stay-at-home mom for my own reasons. And I wanted to be able to raise my children to the way I wanted to raise them. I didn't want anybody else raising them. It was my right to raise my children. Now, originally I thought that they were going to be going to a private school, but I found good public schools to send my children to, and I was happy to find good public schools. Now, as a parent, I think I have the right to know what is being taught at the schools, and recently I've learned that 2015 AB 329 had passed, the California Healthy Youth Act, and this is very recently, because nobody has spoken to the parents or given any information out to the parents regarding this bill that had passed. Now, I learned from my moms, not the school, certain topics that they are discussing in detail with our kids. And I am deeply disturbed because this is my child that I have stayed home, sacrificed to raise on my own. And now they're taking that right away from me. From one, not telling me exactly what they're teaching my kid, and this isn't right. All I want is for transparency and the right to opt out. Everybody has the right to raise their children the way they want to, and that's what I'm asking for. Thank you. So my name is Abby Bales. I'm a Northridge West neighborhood council person, and I was elected to be the ad hoc committee chairwoman for this particular subject. So I'm the person who helped develop the plan along with stakeholders and community members. And it came up, just so you guys know, we had between 30 and 40 stakeholders come to our November meeting and express their concerns and the need for information. So we thought it deserved our attention. We developed a plan, and again, it's not to take a side on the curriculum, but it's to allow the opportunity for our neighborhoods to hear what the curriculum is and what it is not, to be informed about their legal rights in California state law, so that every parent can make the decision that's best for their child. And so the town hall gives an opportunity to provide that information. Again, we're working with other neighborhood councils, and I just want to offer myself if you have any questions. I've done a lot of research and a lot of thinking about sex ed lately that I didn't expect to, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Can I ask you, how much does this town hall going to cost to host?
Very little, like the other town halls, like the CD12 election one, the venue is going to be paid for by North Hills West, assuming that gets approved at the meeting on Thursday, but I think it will. And so the venue cost will not be anything to you. Then we'll have minimal costs for printing and outreach and food. And so we made a motion for up to, and honestly, I don't think you'll spend the amount that we're requesting. Like at CD12, I think we motioned up for $1,000 for the CD12 town hall for food. We ended up spending less than $200.
Any other public comment, please, quickly?
I will stand. Again, urge you to vote yes. This is not about the topic. It's about you, this board, agreed to be part of an event to provide information to the public. It is what you were chartered to do. Please vote yes.
All right, board comment?
I'll start.
Sorry?
I'll start quickly. So yesterday I witnessed all that. I am in support of this with the understanding that we're providing information. We're not giving any opinions, yes or no's on the materials. And yes, I know. The town hall, that it's for the specific of providing information, not discussing the curriculum. Just wanted to make that point.
Well, the town hall can discuss whatever it wants to discuss. We're just voting to participate and provide funds for the curriculum.
And the funding is for the snacks, or for what do we have to provide?
Just
Snacks.
Voting for up to $600 to be participants.
Any other comment? Call the vote.
All right, Brandy is absent. Hassan?
Yes.
David Balin?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Miran?
Yes.
Becky is absent. David Lasher?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Assad?
Yes.
Gabriel, yes. Isam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Consent calendar, item 13, quickly. Can I have a motion? Let me just, it's a quick, can I have a motion to approve the consent calendar item?
Consent calendar items.
I'll
A,
second
B,
it.
C, D.
Any
Gabriel.
member of the public or the board wishes to pull an item off the consent calendar? Nobody does? Call the vote.
All right, Brandy, absent. Hassan?
Yes.
David Balin?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Miran?
Yes.
Becky's absent. David Lasher? Lori?
Yes.
Assad?
Yes.
Gabriel, yes. Isam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, item,
It was Lasher. Gabriel second. Lasher first, Gabriel second.
okay,
Which I,
we'll go down the list. Item 16, quickly. That's Jason.
yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to keep up. 16.
Monticello Canyon. Motion to
Okay,
approve.
motion to approve up to $650 for purchasing food and cleanup supplies to be a co-sponsor of the Lime Kiln Canyon birthday cleanup event with a date to be determined.
All right, I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second, sometime in April, by the way.
Yeah, we do that.
Second from Miran. Public comment?
Quickly, Jason, is this the same amount that we've been doing year over year for this event?
Yeah, so, yeah, it's,
Just a yes or no?
yes, it's.
Great,
the
then I
same
guess
exact-
please do this. It's a good
Thank you.
service.
Any other public comment?
Co-sponsor. It's the same people that always do YMCA, LED.
All right.
Walmart.
Any other comment, public comment, board comment? Call the vote.
All right, Brandy, absent. Hassan? David Balin?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Miran?
Yes.
Becky's absent. David Lasher? Lori?
Yes.
Assad?
Yes.
Gabriel, yes. Isam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 17.
Motion to nominate myself
to present PRNC on the ad hoc committee working plan for the 2020 town hall of the new LSD sex ed curriculum led by the Northwich West Neighborhood Council.
Okay, I have a motion, can I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Assad. Public comment? Board comment?
So I'd like to be part of the ad hoc committee as well. My understanding is that they can have as many people on there, or ad hoc committee at Northridge West, if they can go to the Northridge West meeting, but I'd like to be part of the...
Well, this is about representing the board. Our education committee chair is going to represent the board. I leave it up to the committee organizers to decide if they want to open it for other members or not.
Anybody can attend the ad hoc committee, because I'd like to be part of the process.
But again, for the motion about representing the board, and we're asking your own representative.
Yep.
And I apologize. I'll be very quick. All right, I have a motion, and a second from Assad. Public comment? No. Board comment? Call the vote?
Randy, absent. Hassan.
Yes.
David Balin.
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
Miran.
Yes.
Becky's absent. David Lasher.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Assad. Yes. Gabriel, yes. Isam.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 18, Lori, this is an outreach, so please go.
Motion for PRNC to approve up to $250 to participate in the CD12 candidate forum with additional neighborhood councils. It says date
They
to
do
be
have
determined, but it should be
dates
around February
February
15th.
15th, and it's going to be at Highland Hall, like the last one that we collaborated with.
I second that.
Thank you very much, Mayor Ron.
I would like to, public comment?
Go for it.
Board comment?
The motion is with date to be determined, just because it's not on us.
I have to recuse myself. Still can.
Yes.
Yes. Assad is recusing himself.
Okay. All right, I just want to emphasize that this is a motion to participate, but I want to make sure that we are not voting to be represented unless there is a request to represent the board on any committee that's organizing this.
No, they do, so yes, the way that,
There will be a comment.
there will be an organizing committee as far as this event. The way that they do it is they get together before, figure out who's going to be buying the drinks, who's going to be buying this, what the logistics are of the event, and...
Okay, so
I'm on the email with Ron.
I'd like to formalize ask you to amend the motion to include you as the outreach committee chair to represent the board on the organizing committee.
And myself as well.
No, it's asking her to put herself on as the chair.
Well, I'm participating in the...
You can participate, but
Oh, you mean to speak, you mean, I don't understand the difference between...
there's a difference between representing the board versus participating as a member of that committee if that committee wants you to participate. I can't tell them who to participate or not. But who's representing the board, I need to make sure we have a person that is...
So it doesn't preclude me from being involved in the committee. That's what I'm trying to understand.
But not as representing the board.
If Lori would, if they... That's fine.
Finding communication is wrong. Motion, how do I amend the motion? Because I'm not on
So, to be determined, comma,
with
and
Lori Choi to
and
represent-
assigning Lori Choi as
As
representing the
outreach
board on
chair.
the organizing committee. Is that good?
Yes.
Did you get that, Francis?
Yes.
All right, that's the amended motion. I have a second. Public comment, board comment, call the vote.
All right, Brandy's absent. Hassan absent. David Balin.
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
Miran.
Yes.
Becky's absent. David Lasher.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Assad. Recused himself. Gabriel, yes. Isam.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And I'm going to table item 12, David, without objection.
Table.
It is tabled.
Wow, that was quick.
All right.
I just have a question about for 15, since that was failed, since 15 failed, does that mean that you are still deferring back to the 4K that was previously approved?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's the 4K. That's just one to clarify, that's what last year,